Hey everyone, I'm Steph,
And I'm Megan.
and welcome to another episode of Late Night Reads.
This week we are diving into the magical world of romantasy and covering The Wren and the Holly Library by K.A. Linde.
Let's start with why we selected the Wren and the Holly Library. First, we heard great things about this book from friends and knew we wanted to read it in conjunction with the second book in the series that just came out last month. We are a little impatient, so we love it when there's multiple books in the series available for us to devour all at once because we know with every good romantasy there's going to be one of two things. Either an unresolved ending that isn't a massive cliffhanger, but where you have questions, you want to know more, or a massive cliffhanger. And so we like the idea we could read this and then immediately dive into the second book, which we haven't done yet because we're recording this prior to reading the second book. So everything you're hearing is assuming we've only read the first book. There's also a ton of Celtic mythology that one of us might have needed to Google a lot of, and the other one of us might have been more well versed in. We'll let you guess which one needed to do the Googling. Might be the same person that hasn't read Twilight. Just throwing it out there. It's me. It's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
You're the problem.
Um,
But have
and
you read
then
Outlander? Did we go to this one yet? Have you read Outlander?
no, I've also
Oh
not
my
watched
God.
it.
Oh my God. Okay, well, we'll get to that another time, but yes.
Outlander, Star Wars, Star
Okay, those are
Trek,
very different
Lord of
universes.
the Rings, Twilight.
Oh my gosh.
I've also never seen Game of Thrones. So,
I've seen all of it, so we're covered. We're good.
we're all right. So, our main two characters, Kierst and Graves, both have significant trauma that we see them work through. I would say like a little bit in this book, and we see them start to open up to each other. But clearly, there's way more to their stories that we haven't learned yet that we're excited to continue learning throughout this journey in the series.
That's right. And first, here are some things we should know about the author K.A. Linde. So, she is a New York Times, USA Today, and #1 Sunday Times best-selling author. She writes both romance and romantasy. And then prior to becoming an author, she was actually a head campaign worker for a presidential campaign and the coach of the Duke University dance team. I imagine she would do really good TikToks. I'm just saying. Like dances. Like we should vote that in there. She currently lives in Texas with her husband, son, and a dog.
So before jumping into this book, a couple of key reminders. As always, this episode will contain spoilers. We assume if you're listening, you've read the book, you've been warned, and this book does contain a number of topics that may be sensitive for some readers, including assault, blood, death, drugs, emotional abuse, gun violence, kidnapping, murder, physical abuse, prostitution, sexual assault, sexual harassment, torture, and violence.
Nice long list. Yes, but let's talk tropes. So our first trope we have is enemies to lovers. From the very beginning, Kierst and Graves appear to be enemies because she breaks into his house, literally in the very first chapter of the book. So right away it's like, uh-oh, you're not supposed to be in here. And then in a lot of ways, she starts to see him as her captor rather than her mentor until much later in the book. Next, we have forced proximity. When Graves hires Kierst to steal the spear for him, one of the conditions of the job is that she lives in his house while she trains for the mission. He also requires her to cut off contact with her friends to ensure their safety while she is staying there. Next, we have bad boy. We always love the bad boy trope.
We do.
Yeah, and everything Kierst has heard about Graves is that he's a monster who cannot necessarily be trusted. Major bad boy vibes. So while he's done some good things, such as, helping the monster treaty get signed, it's assumed that he mainly did it for his benefit, not necessarily the benefit of others. Still kind of bad boy. Next, we have slow burn. This is a slow burn. It does pay off, but, the attraction between Kierst and Graves builds a lot throughout the entire book. And it does take a while for them to finally cross that line. That's my biggest complaint. But when they do, it is very good. And we will have to wait until chapter 33 for some spice, but we get it and we get it good. So no
Agreed.
complaints on that end.
All right, so every magical twist, there's a lot that happens in this book. I know it's about like 400 pages, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's
Okay,
a cool
so
world too,
it
You're
is.
just like, like in a kind of like a today's world, but like there's monsters involved. So, like you see a lot of like similarities, like, oh, like I know where this place is, but it's like combined universes.
But we don't have vampires, I think.
Oh, well, who knows? I don't know.
Right? So the book is sectioned in parts, which we'll talk more about and maybe what that means. But the first part is called the Holly Library, and that's where we meet Kierce McKenna, which should have told me like right away, based on the last name, that this was going to be have some Ireland ties to it. Totally didn't pick
Yeah.
up on that until later in the book. So, and she's breaking into this Upper West Side brownstone to steal a diamond ring for Gregory Amberdash, which sounds like a really fancy name. So I like that.
Yes.
And one of her best friends, Ethan, is playing lookout and communicating with her via radio, not cell, because apparently that's really expensive. So it seems like it's going to be like a super simple, like easy job because the home doesn't even have a security system. And so she's able to get into this library inside the home without any issues. So, almost like famous last words, right? It's kind of like, in the in a thriller, it's like it was really quiet and then you turn around and there's someone
Too
behind you or
quiet.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
like this was too quiet. This was too easy. What's
Too
the catch?
easy. Well, we're
Hmm.
about to find out. So
Yeah.
inside the library, there are all these holly vines crawling up the shelves and like over top of the wood. And at first I was like, that's really weird, but okay, cool. And it doesn't seem like it's like a really big deal. And I'm like, is this just like a not well taken care of library? Like, why would you have that?
Yeah, you're like,
Or I
okay,
was
there's plants in a library. Like that's nice, a little greenery, but I'm like, all over? Like
all over,
it's a
or
bit
is
a bit
this like
excessive.
decorative, or like what's going
Yeah.
on? Which, like not a big deal at first, but it becomes more important like when we learn later that Graves uses holly vines as part of his wards, like in his magic. It also makes me start to question like what Graves is protecting within the library in addition to like the safe, like specifically within the books themselves. So, Kyr's finds the safe exactly where Amberdash told her it would be, which I'm like, also, how did he know that?
Yeah.
Right?
How do you
Lots of
know?
questions on that. How did you know that? It's extremely simple to get open. And then this is like that moment where you like spidey senses start to come up because she's like, it shouldn't have been that easy. Like something is wrong. But she doesn't know at that point what it is. And then inside the safe, and this is like one of the questions I have about this book, is we get told these very specific pieces of information that don't seem to make any sense. But I'm like, what does it mean? And I hope it's not one of those things where Kaylin was like, well, what else is in the safe? Let me describe it because I have like rabbit hole on this. So just fair warning. So inside the safe, she finds a stack of folded paperwork, an unfamiliar stamped coin, a hunk of black metal, a human fingernail, and a giant diamond ring.
I'm curious how the human fingernail, it's like, was it just like a clipping or was it like legit
Like a
like the
whole fingernail.
fingertip?
I think it
Like,
was just like I assumed it was like part of like either a clipping of a nail or like a whole fingernail.
yeah, but like how do you know it's human though? Like unless the finger's attached to it, how do you know it's a human fingernail?
I don't know. Don't vampire nails look different? And monster nails look different? Like, I don't know.
Who knows? I mean, hopefully we find out this answer later. Um,
Or we'll find out it meant absolutely nothing, and I've spent way too much time thinking about it.
Graves is probably like, oh, I don't know, how'd that get in there? It's
Just
like
clipping his
saying,
nails.
yeah, he's just like, oh, let me just clip my nails really quick over this box. And you're like, oh, whoops, okay. I don't know. It's like finding like a stray hair somewhere. You're like, where did this come from? I don't know. So, I don't know. But I feel like there's got to be some importance to it because that is too random. Way too random.
Way too
But
random, especially that she describes it.
yes.
And we know later that he's going to do a spell.
Hmm. Yeah. There's a rhyme and reason for all these things. But that is also when Graves shows up. And Kyrst tries to get away, but she's not able to do so because just when she jumps out the window, he grabs her. And at this point, he's not human because he can move super, super fast. Immediately, I'm like, oh my God, is he a vampire? Because, I love a good vampire. But we learn a little backstory here where approximately like 13 years ago, monsters and humans were forced to coincide, and it was very, very bloody. The world practically collapsed overnight. The main forms of monsters that we have in this world are vampires, werewolves, mares, wraiths, shifters, and goblins. And then we do have a few like nymphs, phoenixes, incubus, succubus, hello, veil of blood and magic, and trolls. So we kind of are a little familiar with some of these monsters, but in this world, they all live together. But they didn't always used to be so happy. So big problems in the past with the monsters and the humans. And then now we have some sparring between Kirsten Graves because he's trying to get information out of her. Because he's like, how did you get in here? How did you not trigger my alarms? I don't understand. And she's not very forthcoming, of course. She's like, I'm not going to tell you anything. And then he basically does something to trigger her arm to go dead. And he tells her that if she answers his questions, then she can go free. And she just responds with, what is your word even worth, monster? And he says, everything. And honestly, you're like, okay, that's very important to remember throughout this book and about his character, that like he literally takes his word as his bond, as like the most value you can place on something is your word. You're like, oh, he means business. Okay.
I think she forgets that throughout the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, okay. So here's what we learned during this conversation. During it, he's already stolen the ring back from her, and she doesn't even notice. He's also, as Megan said, very curious about how she got into the house and past the security system. And Kirsten's like, well, it was turned off. It wasn't. It's just not what you think, Kirsten. He actually dislocated her shoulder and helps fix it.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds very painful. He wants to know who she's working for. And normally, like, she wouldn't give out a client name. So there is honor among thieves, apparently.
Yeah.
But finally, she gives up and tells him it's Gregory Amberdash. And he's like, well, who is he working for? And she's like, I don't know. Like, that's above my pay grade.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's like, I think he even says to her, like, well, go ask him. She's like, he's not going to tell me. Like, so then Graves has had gloves on this entire time. And he pulls them off and gets near her, causing her to think he's a vampire, to Megan's point, and wants to suck her blood. Does not want to suck her blood. Might want to suck other things, but not her blood. So he also sees when he gets close to her that she has a Wren necklace, and that's the only thing that she was left from her parents. And so he touches her necklace and asks, what are you? Which I'm like, ooh, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Because he can't read her, which we learn later is one of the books, and like later in the book is one of his major powers. So he then asks her, how does she get the wards down? And she's like, excuse me, what?
What are you talking about? I just walked in here.
Like,
what's a ward?
You didn't even lock your house. Like, I feel like that she's like, I got in through the window. It wasn't even locked. Nothing happened. There was no alarms. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then she has, in the meantime, stolen the ring back from him. So I think it's like almost like this little game, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, give it back. And she does give it back. And then he's like, well, I want to like test something. And he gives her a wooden box, has the same holly design on it. And he's like, open it. And all I imagine is like in this moment, it's like almost like I thought of it like a wooden jewelry box, and she like opens it, closes it. She's like, okay.
I wanted him to do like a Pretty Woman moment. Like she's like opens it, sticks her hand, and he just goes, she goes, ah, you know.
Oh, that's such a great moment. That would have been good.
Yeah.
And then he's, super cryptic. So whenever there's a cryptic character that likes to say like a little bit of information and not the whole thing, I immediately think of Kieran from the Blood and Ash series. So he's like Monster Kieran. And he's like, you have interesting talents, but you've been left unaware of them. Super helpful. Super helpful. And then he also says this line, kind of like different iterations of it multiple times throughout the book. All of the stories you've heard, all the tales and legends come from a kernel of truth. Right? So when he has her read books moving forward, it's because there's truth to all of those. And then, because we have not scared the shit enough out of this girl, he's like, also magic is real. And the wards are magical barriers. And Kirsten's like, no, monster's not magic. I've literally had that burned in my brain.
Yes.
And he was just like, sorry, let me prove to you. Yeah. Let me, right? I feel it's like that moment where your kid's like, well, that's not real. And you're like, okay, let me just show you.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. Mm-hmm. And so, he like has like, I think like a couple of coins fall out of like the box when she opened, like when it's open the next time. And then she was like, oh, well, like magicians could do that. And then so like the next time there's like even more, and it's kind of like, oh,
okay.
Oh,
she's like, this box was empty and now it's like overflowing with gold coins. And you're like, maybe there is magic. Huh.
Oh. And he's like, and I'd like to offer you a job. I'd like you to steal something for me. Okay. Okay. And that, like, in the span of like this 10-minute conversation, she thought he was a monster and going to kill her because apparently, if you break into a monster's house, they can kill you without any remorse or
Mm.
like issues. Then
Any
he thought
retribution at all?
any
Yeah.
retribution at all,
Yeah.
right? Then she thought he was a vampire who was going to suck her blood, and now he wants to hire her.
Yeah. Like talk about a whirlwind of like just being like, wait,
Wait,
what?
what?
Like not
Excuse
what I
me?
thought I was signing up for today.
And like her communication with Ethan has been broken at this point. So like she can't even talk to him. He can't even hear her. And so she's like, yeah, I'm not interested in working for you. Like I don't
Yeah. I
I
know
think it
nothing
like
about you. Who are you?
correct. And I almost feel like she's like, I don't work for monsters. And I'm like, but you do.
What you
But you
do.
do. Anyways, and he's like, well, I'll pay you a lot of money for it, like a lot of money. And she's like, well, give me 24 hours, then I'll decide. And then he has her do something once again, because I'm going to be suspicious about it. Sign this like a mysterious black book with her name on it. And we see that there are a couple of names that are so illegible. What is wrong with me today?
Ineligible. Wait,
Ineligible.
is it no?
Illegible.
No.
Yeah,
Illegible. That's the word.
illegible. Um, but then you can read two names, which are Uma Matthewson and Mateo Parrish.
And you're
And I'm
like,
also like,
who's that?
Kaylin, why are those names listed out for us? Like, I have questions. I feel like those are important. Did
Those are gonna come
I
back. Yeah.
also, after I read this book, go through my Kindle version again, searching for those names? I did and did not find them.
Only mentioned
So,
there.
exactly. So I'm just like, okay, you told us this for a reason. Did I also Google those names to see if they had any tied to like Celtic history or mythology? I did not find anything. Okay.
No.
And then he like lets her leave out the front door. Like this has just been like a social call and tosses her the ring as a show of good faith. And I'm like,
Huh.
what?
Yeah. Again, this was too easy.
Even that part feels like too easy, right? Like
Yeah.
breaking in was easy, leaving was pretty easy. And I think she's kind of like, what just happened?
Yeah. She's like, did I just step through a Twilight Zone? This was so weird.
So bizarre.
Yeah. So the next Kyrus goes and gives the ring to Amberdash, who happens to be a wraith. Ooh. And he became like very wealthy during the Monster War. Go figure. Wraiths are very sneaky. And she knows Amberdash from her time working in this guy Jason's thieving guild, which immediately made me think of King of the Assassins from Assassin's Blade, and I'm like Aelin, and like and all that stuff. So you're like, okay, like interesting here. So she basically, back in the time, was able to continue working directly for Amberdash after things ended between her and Jason. And usually Amberdash is just the middleman for these jobs. And when Kyrus questions him about sending her to a monster's house without enough information, he basically responds that, like, you handled the job fine. It's all good. Like, technically, like, he's not wrong because, like, she did end up with the ring. But then he's like, but by the way, like, watch your back. And she's like, huh, what do you mean watch my back? Like, you sent me there. And that warning is, like, not necessarily from him, but it's like he's like, I know like talents like yours are gonna be in high demand, so like be careful. And you're like, okay, this has got to mean that he knows that like she has these skills to break wards, and maybe other people will be very interested in those skills. Even though like he doesn't really share any of this information with her. He's very cryptic as well. And you're just like, gosh, nobody can just be straightforward these days.
No. Communication, people.
On. But then Kyrus heads back to her apartment, which happens to be above a brothel where she lives with Ethan and Jen. And the brothel is also owned by Jen's mom, Colette. And she happens to be in a love affair with the head of the Roulettes, who is kind of like a little like gang or people there who help guard the brothel. So both Ethan and Kyrus were rescued from difficult situations by Jen, and they become best friends, and they've just kind of formed like their own little family. So I guess you could also say like a found family is like a trope in here too. And it's obvious from the beginning of the book that they have a very strong relationship, the three of them, which 3 is very important in Celtic as well. Just saying. So, but we find out towards the very end that obviously it's much more connected than we could have ever realized, or some of us. But it's really like a cool found family again. So Kier's debriefs on the job that was with Ethan and Jen and tells them basically about the job that she was offered and how Graves has magic. And they're both super shocked because they're like, "What? No, 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 no. It's monsters, not magic. We've been told this for years. Like, what are you talking about?" And she's like, "No, dude, like I saw it. It's legit magic. Like it's not fake." And Kier says, I want to do the job because it's going to allow us to have enough money to take care of ourselves, have security. It's like $10 million is what she's going to get. And she's like, we can leave this place. Like, we can have our own place. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this for us. And you're like, okay, Kiers.
Okay. Then we also learned that her mom died during childbirth and she lived with her father afterwards until he abandoned her. Like she went to school one day and then when she came back, he was gone. And so then I start to question, obviously, like what really happened to your family? Like, did he really abandon you? Did something else happen to him?
Did he get picked up by ice?
Right?
I'm
Like,
just
I mean,
saying.
we have
Like,
lots of
that's too
questions.
relevant. That's too relevant to today where that's
Yes.
happening.
Like he's
Like,
just gone.
we need answers.
And
Where
there's
are they?
nothing throughout the book that tells us that she had a poor relationship with her father, unlike what we see with what we learn about Graves and his father. So, but their conversation is interrupted when Corey, which is Ethan's boyfriend, bursts into the room shouting that there's a gang raid. And I'm like, okay, so there's lots of gangs in this world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't you have a gang?
Yeah, right?
Wait, aren't the Roulettes protecting the brothel?
Yeah.
Things I never thought I'd say out loud. Isn't your gang protecting the brothel?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh. And so all three of them like flee the apartment. They head towards an outdoor festival because like in their defense, right? Theoretically you would think if we're around more people that would be safer. And I mean, kind of. But before they even get to the festival, a man points a gun at Kier's. She creates a distraction. So then the three of them can kind of take off running. And then once they get to the festival, it's pretty busy. But unfortunately, a druid, is that correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
druid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Finds them pretty quickly. And Kier's tries to fight off both of them while everyone else at the festival is basically ignoring what's happening, which made me think a lot of Chained by K.A. Riley and Solia when she's like running from Saint. And like all this stuff is happening and she's like in this sheer panic and the rest of like the city is just like ignoring her like la-di-da-di-da. And I'm like, okay, apparently this is not abnormal. And so you see Kira, she ends up getting like stabbed or sliced by a knife and then ends up knocking out a druid. So one of the things that I do think is interesting to this point is she's had, multiple people point guns or knives at her at this, and she's not tried to kill anyone. It's like that is one thing I noticed, which is a little slightly different than Aelin, because Aelin would have already killed them.
Yeah,
She's very stabby. Yeah, very stabby. We do love a FMC that's stabby.
Mm-hmm.
So just throwing it out there. Anyways. Unfortunately, it doesn't end there because more druids follow them, end up shooting at them. So we have like, knives and guns. And Kier's then, I think that's when it dawns on her like, oh shit, that warning that I just got like an hour or two ago, probably related. It's fine. And so when she's confronted by them, we learn that they are in fact after her, but not after Ethan and Jen. And they say it's because you're working with the enemy. Which I'm like, she doesn't work with anyone. Like, do they mean Amberdash? Do they mean, obviously we figure out later, they mean Graves. But they're like, we'll let you go. We'll let your friends go if you cooperate. Which supposedly, this is when we learn the name Lorcan, won't like. And then all I thought of as soon as I read his name, it was like, do we find out what Lorcan does? Do we?
Right.
Is this the book where we find out what he does? For those of you that have read Throne of Glass, you know what we're talking about. Everyone else, when you read Throne of Glass, you'll learn what we're talking about. But supposedly Lorcan won't like this. And then there's all I imagine then is like two men bickering while like holding these three people at gunpoint, which causes like Kier's the opportunity to take a shot because she carries obviously guns on her because who doesn't in this world? And the three of them run again and they find a cab. They head to 5 Points.
And 5 Points is where Nate O'Connor lives.
This is where I realized there was an Irish theme to it.
Yeah, you're like, wait a second.
It took like a couple dings of that. This is the one. I was like, oh,
Yeah. So Nate O'Connor, ooh, he lives and he's the alpha of the werewolves. And his group of werewolves are known as the Dreadlords. And so his nightclub is like a safe haven for those who believe in a future for both monsters and humans. And we're led to believe throughout the entire book that Nate and his pack are to be trusted and they're supposed to be good people. But, we're always going to be suspicious of everything. It's like, people can backstab. You never know. So Kierce apparently worked with Nate on various jobs a long time ago until her on again, off again girlfriend Tora was kidnapped by the Men of Valor about a year ago. So the three of them get there. They're safely in a room. Kierce tells Jen and Ethan that she's going to take the job because Graves needs her alive, number one, and that can be used to her advantage. And he thinks that she has magic. So she obviously wants to find out more about this because she's like, I didn't even think this was real, and now I need to know more. So needless to say, Ethan and Jen are very concerned about her taking this job, but we get the sense that no one can really change her mind once it's been made up. Like, she's very stubborn. I'm like, okay, I love that about you. It's great.
I do. But also, like, think about it. If you're in her position, if someone's like, you have magic, I sure as hell would want to know how to use that. Yes, please teach
Yeah.
me.
Yes, it's like, okay, let's go. And also, it's like, you're the only safe place I could probably be right now. Like, these random things are chasing me. Like, hmm. So then when Nate and Kierce are alone, he questions her, like, where have you been for the past year? And he's like, reminds her, like, you weren't responsible for Tora's kidnapping. Like, obviously, she's still, like, brokenhearted about that. And that's also where we learn that Lorcan happens to be the head of the Druids. And Nate thinks he's a human. Not accurate at all, considering that we find out later in the book about him. So Nate always thought that Lorcan was a good side of the fight kind of a person and that his territory was going to be safe for humans. But that seriously makes us question if in the future Nate might side with Lorcan and the Druids like over Graves. Maybe. I don't know. But like it does seem that he already is kind of like Team Lorcan versus Team Graves. So like we'll see what happens if there's like another like territorial like war or something. Who knows? So Nate's girlfriend, Mora, helps to patch up Kierce. And during this encounter, we learn that Nate and Mora have heard of Graves. Supposedly, Graves makes people sign his black book, as we know, so that they're bound to do a deal with him and sworn to keep his name secret. But, like, how can you make a deal with someone that you don't know? Like, assuming, like, that must be magic related. And Kierce, now we later find out, like, she has the power to absorb magic. And so, therefore, that magic didn't work on her. But, like, is there more to it?
And when you have to know what deal you're signing your name to, it's like a contract. I
Yeah.
can't sign a contract if I don't. I mean, they tell you to read the language, which I
I
do
mean,
for things I actually sign, but for like the click wrappers on the internet,
yeah.
yeah, I agree.
I also honestly thought of like Ariel in Little Mermaid, where she just like signs her name at the bottom
To Ursula,
to Ursula, and you're just like, okay, here's my thing, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, Ariel. Like later,
did
I'm
we
like,
not
you
learn
could have.
anything?
Also, I'm like, you could have just like written down your name for Eric. Did you like forget your
Right.
name? Has how to write? Like, she can't say her name, but Anyway,
Good point.
got theories on
Okay.
Little Mermaid. We can talk about that later.
We also learned that Graves helped get the monster treaty signed, but that doesn't mean he's necessarily a good guy. Nate believes that Graves did it for his own benefit, but isn't all bad either. Super, super helpful information, Nate. Are you the
Yeah.
werewolf Kieran?
Yes, right.
Because basically what you said is Graves might be good, or he might be bad. Not sure. Not sure. Great. Could you have kept your mouth shut then? Because that was super not helpful.
Yes.
So, but Nate does suggest that Graves is known for getting what he wants. So if Kierce is going to do the job, she should try and do it on her own terms. And I'm like, okay, touche. And that Nate thinks that whatever Graves wants her to steal, because you don't know it at this time, would most likely help the cause. And so he's all for it. And I'm like, what's the cause?
Yeah. Which cause?
Which cause? Like, do you just mean, like, there already is a monster treaty. Like, what are you trying to move forward?
Yeah.
And then he reminds Kyrus that, like, I'm always going to be there for you. We're like, I'll help you with whatever you need. We're like family, which once again makes me suspicious because I'm just like, sure, until you stab her in the back. Because there's a point later in the book where Kyrus thinks, like, no one can hurt you like family. And so it makes me, it was in a different context, but it makes me think about this. So anyways, Kira tells Jen and Ethan, hey, you're going to live at Nate. I feel like she's like the mama hen at this point, which
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, like we get the sense that like Jen is kind of the mama hen for like the two of them. But she's like, you're going to leave here until like I can figure out how much danger I've put you in. And then Corey's like, well, that's ridiculous. Like I can protect them.
Yeah.
Can you, Corey? You and the Rolettes did not do a good job. That's why they're there.
Yeah.
Just
It's
like
like, do you not remember the raid we were just a part of and had to like literally escape from?
you told us to run.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, let's stay here where it's a bit safer because, werewolves. So, yeah.
So then we have one of these interlude scenes, which happens between like each of the sections in the book, and we get to see a scene that doesn't involve Kierce. So everything else in the book, Kierce is always present. And the first one is between Cormac and Declan, who are two of the druids that tried to kill Kierce earlier in the night. And we learn a couple of things. So one, Declan is Lorcan's second in command. He met Graves 20 years ago when he was given a super shitty job, which is to take, he was low on the totem pole at this point, but to take a box from Lorcan to Graves, which contained a box of Irish wildflowers. And it thoroughly pissed Graves off when he like opened it and saw it. And so then Declan took off running. And we do see this idea of wildflowers mentioned because when we meet Kingston later in the book, he even mentions how Lorcan used to send Graves wildflowers. We learned that he eventually thinks Kier smells like wildflowers. So there's a lake with wildflowers that's like kind of reminds him of home in Ireland. So I think there's more to this story. But I feel like Lorcan and Graves kind of have that like dick measuring contest going on. Like, do you know what I mean? But like also like trying to like antagonize each other enough. They're a little bit like Reaver and Kieran.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the War of Two Queens, where there's like slowly antagonizing each other. Anyways,
Yeah.
Lorcan
It's
is
also like with these wildflowers. I'm like, could that have anything to do with the sister?
right. It has to.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a sign to just kind of like piss him off and be like, I'm onto you, or like, I'm coming for you.
I'm coming for you. Like I'm after you.
Yeah.
Yes. So Lorcan isn't pleased to learn that Kyrus got away and that there is no sign of Graves, because I guess he expected that when they went after Kyrus that Graves would somehow show up. And he's surprised that Kyrus didn't seem to know about the engravement or know who he was when they mentioned his name. And I'm like, okay, so let me get this straight. You saw her leave his house. You assumed they were, I mean, granted, she did come out the front door. You assumed then, therefore, they were working together. Even though you are the one that had Amberdash hire her to steal the ring?
Yeah, it's so confusing.
Excuse me?
Like, why would you, like, set up this trap, basically? It's so, yeah.
It's very bizarre.
Yeah. So you're like, okay. So let me get to part 2 of the book, which is called The Wren. Very curious here why K.A. Linde structured the book in this way. If there's more to it than we think. I think so. I think there's a rhyme and a reason for all of this. So it's like the Holly Library, the Wren. Let's see what happens here. So Kyrus heads back to Graves' mansion and is greeted by the butler, Edgar. And you're like, oh, I love a good butler. And he definitely does more than just a standard butler based on his behavior later in the book. And we also see that the door has a dragon knocker. Oh, love it. So much. And this is like the first of many, many references to dragons, which I'm like, is there going to be a dragon? I want to see a dragon. I want a dragon right now.
I was like, is he a dragon?
Is he a dragon? Yeah. Like, can he turn into a dragon? That's what I thought, why he was wearing like gloves for a while. And like, it's like maybe like he had dragon claws. And then I'm like, is that fingernail a dragon fingernail? Or I don't know.
This is what
Draken?
This is what these books do to us.
Right? I'm like, I'm getting unhinged, guys. I don't know what, going down crazy rabbit holes. But then we also get to meet Isolde, who is a British kind of like head of the house, if you will. She takes care of the house. She does all the cooking, all the delicious food that Kyrus gets to eat while she stays there. And then when Graves arrives, we learn a lot more. So he will not answer her question about his association with the Druids. He's just like, all he says is, not everything is as it seems. There are no good guys or bad guys. This isn't a fairy tale. And you're like, great. What am I supposed to do with that information? Like, cool.
I
And
feel like
then,
it's one of those comments that we're like it seems very familiar in some books, which is like everything you've learned is a lie. Like that's what I feel like
yeah,
he's saying in a different way. Everything is a lie.
everything is a lie. Trust no one and nothing. And you're like,
Correct.
okay,
Great.
so I don't trust you.
How do I
Cool.
know you're not telling me that everything is a lie is actually a lie?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you get too far down like an inception of just like, ah. So, but basically, when she's employed by him, he's like, the Druids won't be a concern because I have an agreement with Lorcan. Oh, does Lorcan know this agreement? Because I don't think he does. He's like, like Lorcan won't go after you. I won't go after him. It's a whole like vice versa thing. We keep at each other's business. And I'm like, again,
Do you?
don't think, do you? I don't think so. So Graves knows then that her friends are staying with the Dreadlords and they negotiate her salary for the job. Kierce wants $10 million. He's like, I'll
Good
give
for
you
you.
three. Right? And you're like, good, you know your worth. And she's very much like very good at negotiating. She's like, well, I'm the only person alive that can do this, right? I'm the only one who can bring down those wards. You don't know anybody else like me. You need me. And he's like, damn it, she's right. So like he tries to do 3 million, but ends up agreeing to the 10 million. So I'm like, oh, she gets her way. Good for you. And then Kierce makes him promise that if she dies, then her friends Jen and Ethan still get the money. So it kind of helps her like feel better, just like a safety net. Like anything happens to me, my friends are still taken care of. I'll still do this. He's like, fine, deal. And then Graves plans to train Kierce on her magic, mind and body.
I
I'm
went
sure
very
he
naughty
does.
when I read that. I was just like,
I
oh, I
know.
bet. I hope he does.
I hope he does train that body. But it's educational. Come on, guys. Educational assignments and weapons training. And I'm like, okay.
Okay, what kind
Okay,
of weapons?
Zayden and Violet. Zayden and Violet weapons training. But it's a spear because he's like, well, we should train you on the spear because that's what you're going to steal. And like, worst case scenario, you have to use it. You should probably know how. Good idea. So he plans to also give her lots of books to read so that they can discuss these things. And there's a lot of like breadcrumbs there. Like he is like training her in other ways that she doesn't realize yet. So the terms for this job are that, Kierce has to live at his home to keep her and her friends safe, which makes sense. And then Kierce always has to have a cell phone on her and specifically answer it when he calls. But she can't call anyone else. I'm like, you cannot call Jen or Ethan. And lastly, he says, you need to keep my secrets. And it's like,
Okay.
okay. Because he's like, this partnership requires a level of trust that he has not given in years. And so he's like, I need to be able to trust you. And he then mentions how he cannot necessarily bind Kierce to her promises. And I think that's because, she can break wards and therefore she could break any kind of bond that he would try to put over her anyway. And she's like, fine, fine, fine. They have a deal. I would say you handshake, but he's got gloves. So, you know. So Graves then tells her, okay, we're gonna start training like once you've slept, because I don't think you've had a good sleep because you've been running around like a crazy person. She's like, no, 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 I don't need that. I'm fine. But like, yeah, she does. So he's like, I already got a room made up for you, and you cannot go in these locked rooms. And this is like Beauty and the Beast, like, do not go in the West Wing. Like, what's in the West Wing? I'm like,
I want to go in the West Wing now.
I want to know. I'm like, do you have a rose under a magic like vase that's like, I don't know, holly leaves? Yeah. And then he admits to her, he's like, he doesn't necessarily know exactly what she is, but she appears to have some type of natural immunity that allows her to walk through wards. And you're like, okay. And he's like, we're gonna figure this out together, like how deep and wide this is gonna be like a ward, and like let's just figure this out. And he's like, but basically I think you're immune to magic. And he's like, I've never met anybody like you, and I'm really old. So I've met a lot of people. And you're like,
Like how old?
how old? How old are you? Are you sure
I
you're
did
not a
not.
vampire? Like how old
Are you
are
sure?
you?
Right?
Yeah.
Very old.
Very old.
So after she sleeps, she wakes up, eats a ton of food, and then Graves arrives home and tells her they're going to begin spear training with Edgar immediately. And then they'll have dinner tonight where she can ask questions. And then, because he gives gifts, and we do love an MMC that gives gifts, he gives
Yes.
her some guns, a cell phone, cash, and has created, because apparently he assumes that she cannot make good choices or take care of herself, gotten her a bank account and deposited half of her $10 million in there for her.
Great.
I'm like,
He's
okay.
a sugar daddy at this point.
He is a sugar daddy. He's like just taking care of things for her.
Love it.
And then she goes to train with Edgar, and then she runs into a small black cat named Anne in the library. A cat who acts like, and this is how it's described, like it owns the library.
I think it does. I think this
I think
cat can like maybe turn into a person.
I think this cat might be a person.
Yeah.
So we do think it plays a bigger role in the story, but I don't think we know exactly what. So we're gonna talk about this in theories because this cat is very, very suspicious.
And it's named
All
Anne
right.
after Anne Boleyn.
Which also like
But you have your head, so that's good.
I that we know of.
Oh.
Like
Is it Anne Boleyn reincarnated?
that
Or was Anne Boleyn actually a witch and she turned herself into a cat? Now she's here. See? Theories.
See, this is where you guys, this is what these books do to us. Okay. So she has dinner with Graves and she like she ends up wearing like a sexy cocktail dress to dinner. And I'm like,
Yeah.
girl,
Damn.
if someone told me I had dinner at 9 p.m. at night, like, and I didn't have to leave the house, you were getting nighttime yoga pants,
Yeah.
which are slightly like a rattier version of daytime yoga pants.
Yeah.
A t-shirt that is probably like 12 plus years old.
Yeah. A sorority t-shirt, probably.
A 1,000% a sorority t-shirt. That for me, that would be 20 plus years old then. And some sort of like sweatshirt situation that typically says something. It doesn't matter if it's 90 degrees outside. I am wearing a sweatshirt at night, like allergic to mornings or something like that on it.
We're not wearing cocktail dresses.
I'm not wearing a cocktail dress and heels. No. So we learn during this dinner, we learn that he always wears gloves because he prefers them. And I'm like, liar, liar, pants on fire. Right? He does not tell her why until
or even
much
thought
later
about
in the
like
book.
Elsa. You know, I'm like, oh, maybe
Yeah,
think about
ooh.
germs, you know?
That's true.
Wear
Or
the
maybe
gloves, they'll help. Conceal, don't feel.
right? Like you have ice powers. And then
Let
he's
it go.
he needs to let some things go.
He does.
So he's very interested in her necklace and mentions that a wren is the symbol of spring and rebirth. And it's meant to be believed to be a good omen in the winter. He's like, where did you get it? And she's like, well, from my mother. And he's like, where did she get it? And she's like, I don't know. My mom died during childbirth. And so he's like, well, do you always wear the necklace when you like walk through the wards or like, and she's like, I mean, I wear it like all the time. Like, it's just like these weird line of questioning. Like, yeah, yes, I wear it all the time.
Yeah. He's
And
like, is this imbued with magic? Like, maybe it's magical and you're not.
Correct.
But
spoiler alert, it's not.
No.
And then this is another thing that's really weird that, of course, I notice and then I'm suspicious about. Kira's surprised that they have berries for dinner, which is out of season. And I'm like, I get that. I get that berries are out of season in the winter. Do you live in a world where you can't buy out of season fruit? Because I can buy out of season fruit. Like I can buy berries in the winter and I live in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Where there are no berries in the winter growing.
Yeah.
And then it happens again when she eats dinner with Lorcan. And I'm like, what is it about berries? Out of season. Like, I think there's more to it. I do like berries.
They like them very much.
They're very delicious.
Very good. Very
Okay.
good.
Then we learn that Graves is not a vampire. He is a warlock.
Ooh.
I'm like, okay. And he believes that Kira is likely a monster too. And thinks that she might be a warlock. And most cities only have one master warlock. And I'm like, okay, because I understand you just need like one like queen or king bitch to like rule the world. Okay, I get that. And the sphere that Kira needs to steal is held within what they call the third floor, which is the residence of the leader of the Men of Valor. Which when I read this, I was like, shit, isn't that who kidnapped Tora? Like, great.
Right? Yeah, you're like, that's not good.
Great.
Yeah.
And the organization is a group of monsters who are working together against the monster treaty. And they wear gold wings and arrow pendants. I'm like, okay. And the only opportunity to steal the sphere is at winter solstice when the Men of Valor throw a huge party. And I'm like, okay.
And it's like, and by the way, that's coming up soon. And you're like
in a couple weeks. It'll be fine.
Cool. Great. Cool. Yeah. Let me learn how to do magic real quick.
Like, also, if Kyrus didn't show up at his house to steal this ring, how would he have tried to get the sphere? Like I just have lots of questions.
Yeah. What was plan A before you got to plan
Correct.
B?
Or or is there like some prophecy and this is like all preordained or something?
Ooh, we love a good prophecy.
We do. And then my other question started to become of like, how does everyone like Lorcan and Graves know where she's at all the time? Like, does she have air tags on her? Are they like
Just.
just like
Is
tracking
the
her
Wren an
movement?
AirTag?
Oh, that's what it is.
Must be. So then later, Kierce sneaks out of the house to go and see Colette at the brothel and gives her some of that money that she got from Graves to use just in case of emergencies, and then a burner phone in case she needs to reach her. So you gotta love a girl who's already violating those rules. She's like, you can give me rules, but I'm my own person, and you can't tell me what to do. So I'm like,
Also, Colette has
good.
one of the best lines in that scene. I think she says something like, "It'd be much better for you to like spread your legs for money than do what you do." And I'm just like,
Yeah. You're like, oh, okay.
okay,
Now we know
you
how
do
you run your
now.
world.
I mean, you do run a
We
brothel,
do
so
run a brothel.
that does
Yeah.
make somewhat sense. But like
Yeah,
also,
she's like, you can make so much more money just working for me and spreading your legs
and
than
it'd be safer.
maybe.
I'm like, what it?
But there's lots of things go there. So then next Kierce heads to meet up with Nate at a coffee shop and tells him all about the job and the conditions she's agreed to. Of course, she's bringing some more rules there because she wasn't supposed to tell anybody anything. But again, like she can't be bound to anything because she's immune to magic. So she gives Nate also some money and another burner phone, asking him to please protect her friends Jen and Ethan and call her if needed. So, like, now she's given away two burner phones and she wasn't supposed to have any contact with anybody. And she's like, blah, rules don't apply to me. I'm going to do what I want. Which, again, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Who says you have to do what this guy tells you? He kidnapped you.
Right. You don't
Sort of.
really know him.
You don't know him. Like, you don't own me. So then she also tells him about the job and how it's on the third floor and it's on the winter solstice. Like she's giving everything away. And she realizes, or they realize, it's a full moon. So Nate's like, me and my pack are going to be on lockdown during this. So I hope everything goes well for you. And right away, you're like, oh shit, something's going to happen. And like, she's going to need the werewolves and they will be able to help. So we already know, okay, winter solstice is a big day. It's full moon. Crazy things happen on a full moon, right? Like prediction right there. Shit's going to go down. So the next morning, Graves tells Kierce they're going out and we get to meet George, his driver. Apparently, Graves has a really hidden way to exit his home using a car, which is why Kierce and Ethan never saw him leave during their whole recon missions. So they are headed to the Covenant for Kierce to have some medical testing done to find out if she has this like warlock gene. It's like,
Or
okay,
if she's pregnant.
right? Yeah, and yeah. But it sounds simple and like a good plan to confirm. You're like, oh, what kind of monster it might be? And we meet Dr. Maffey, and Dr. Maffey is not a fan of Graves, honestly. Like, she literally pulls or kicks Graves out and like talks to Kierce, and she's like, do not do this, because Graves will then have access to all of your information. And she's just like, you should not trust him or me. Like, don't trust anyone in this world. And it's like, okay, technically, like, yes, Dr. Maffey did then warn us that she's not she's untrustworthy as well. But like, Kierce was not picking up those clues at all. And again, like she does like a pregnancy test, and Kierce is like, I'm good. I don't need that. I haven't had sex in the last month. Plus I was a lesbian for a while, so like I'm not pregnant. It's fine. I'm good. Um, so additionally, we learned then that Dr. Maffey was involved with Graves. Before she completed her medical degree, but then she left him. So, and then Graves like says a comment of like, they always leave. And you're like, okay, well now I feel bad a little bit. Like you're a little heartbroken person and like everyone who loves you leaves.
That makes me
But
sad for
also,
you.
but also like maybe you shouldn't have all these rules.
So a few days into her weapons training, Graves decides that it's been unsatisfactory. I feel like this is like similar to like when Zane was like, you are not being trained well enough. I will help you. And I'm
Yeah.
like, is it really not going well? Or do you feel this building attraction and you would like to spend time with her on and off the mat?
You just want to get a little
Because
handsy.
that's
You want
what
to
we're
pin me
thinking.
down on the mat? Oh no.
Oh no. Please
Ooh.
don't. Again.
Oopsies. I dropped the
Oopsies.
spear.
Right? And so, but then what I love about it is during training, he offers to answer a question for each like successful hit she gets on him, right? And she does get a few. And then this is when we learn they're going to go to a party to test her magic. And she will need to attend the party as his pet. And I'm like, ooh, what does that mean?
I was
As
like,
beck
I
and
got major
call,
like Feyre Ryson vibes.
bites, yes, like when they go under the mountain. Yes. Oh,
Under the mountain, be my pet. And you're like, oh, sexy.
yes. Sexy, right? So she's like, what does that mean? She has to be his beck and call and let everyone assume that they're in a physical relationship. And like, yes, we are here for that. So then we see like another interlude, and that's with Dr. Mafi. And once again, she told us she was untrustworthy. She's definitely untrustworthy because she texts the head of the Men of Valor to let him know that she might have found something. And I'm like, you're up to no good. And then we get part three, which is called the immunity. And that makes sense because that whole section is learning about like what powers Kyrst really has. So we've had the Holly Library, the Wren, and now the immunity.
And it is time for our party. Kyrst gets all dolled up in like a very sexy and scandalous dress. And we're like, yes, here for that. And it's so scandalous, there's not even a place to hide a weapon. Definitely different than what Kyrst is used to wearing. And let's also just say that Graves likes what he sees. And, he also gives her a very old book later entitled The Oak and the Holly King. Interesting. Who do we know that likes holly? So it's a little breadcrumb that, like, honestly, I didn't pick up on that till later. And it plays a substantial role in the book, too. So Montrell and Imani, they are these other basically like heads of Chicago, basically. So they're go from New York to Chicago. Montreal and Imani are holding this party. And it sounds like a sex party because Imani's power allows her to create this thing called wish power that grants sexual wishes. And you're like, this is going to be a giant orgy, basically.
That's what I assumed.
Yeah. And it pretty much was. I mean, like when she's going through, she's like, oh shit, like, okay, people are going at it. But it's all consensual. It has to be between two consenting people, supposedly. And Montel, we find out, isn't as powerful, but he has perfect recall. So the goal then is to steal a packet of letters from them that, Graves wants back. And Graves shows Kyrst exactly where he expects the letters to be stored, gives her all the info. And he's like, this is the plan. Like, be my pet, but sneak away, go get these letters. We'll meet back up and rendezvous and, snooze.
It'll be easy peasy.
Easy peasy, right? And again, you're like, nothing's ever as easy as it seems. So let's find out what happens at this party. It apparently has been 50 years since Montrell and Imani have seen Graves. And like 150 years since they were all civil with each other. So you're like, oh my God, drama went down between you guys. Also, how old are you, Graves? Like, oh
Real
my
old.
God, real old. And we're surprised, honestly, to learn what really happened between the three of them. Yeah, three of them. Yeah. So Graves says he wants to talk to them about business. So, Kyrst can, rendezvous away and try and find the letters. And, in the meantime, she's just like, okay, I'll go get some punch. But she's been told, don't drink that punch. So Kyrst goes off and she goes into their bedroom and finds like a ton of crates. And she's like, that's weird. Like, why are there so many crates everywhere? And she's like, well, okay, there's nothing in here. So she goes back to Graves and she comes back with some punch, pretending she's drank some of it. And you're just like, oh, girl, I hope you do drink that punch.
I hope it has effects on you.
I hope it
It
does.
doesn't have effects on her, but she does dance with Graves, and that definitely turns her and him on, which is kind of like what they're, in a lot of ways, right, trying to do because they want everyone to believe that they're going to leave the dance floor to go have sex, not break into a room and steal something. So then they end up kissing, which is pretty hot for Kyrst because the kiss feels very possessive, and we do love a good possessive MMC.
Oh, yes. Yes, we do.
But Graves only did it because he sensed Imani was coming and who like sees them in the study. She's like, you should use another room. And he was like, but I like, you know how I like libraries. I'm
Huh?
like, well, yeah, you do. So they continue to dance throughout the night until Kierce excuses herself to go to the bathroom and tries to access the study again and ends up finding a hidden door.
It's
And
so cool.
so,
Like a little Murphy door. You're like, and it opens, and there's like,
and she like crawls down, right, walks down it. And after
yeah.
she's down there, she sees a lot of people working on this like red fine powder, which is the wish powder that we know Imani uses. She also then, after walking for a little bit, finds a vault, which she gets open. And then a ton of white smoke comes at her when she does. And we learn later that that's white wish powder, which is incredibly dangerous. By the time she doesn't know this. When she goes in there, she sees kind of like the envelope and it's sealed with a holly leaf in black wax. So clearly, like, symbolic. And then as she tries to leave, she starts like struggling to function because of like the white powder that she's inhaled. And then we see like when she kind of gets back up to the party, another man comes up to her and you kind of get the sense that he's going to sexually assault her, right? Until like
He's
Graves
getting
shows
real
up,
handsy.
real handsy, right? And like tries to stop it. And then that's when he realizes that she's in trouble and carries her out. And then, like, the last thing we get from Kierce is that she remembers seeing a winged lion roaring from a dais made of stone, a crowned dragon breathing fire in answer to the lion, and a group of sheep for the slaughter, and then blacks out. And I'm like, okay, that's like our second dragon reference.
Yes.
Like, what does it mean?
It's
Like, why is
crowned dragon.
a winged lion and a group of sheep? Which is three.
Yeah. Group of sheep for the slaughter. I'm like, are those humans?
Are those
Like,
people?
this, yeah, is this symbolic that like the monsters like eat the people? You know, like that's
I
oh
just thought
yeah.
it was very interesting.
Yeah, I'm like who's gonna be the winged lion? Who's gonna be the
Is
dragon?
that Lorgan? And is Graves the dragon? And is the world the sheep for the slaughter?
Yeah,
I don't
right?
know.
Oh,
Or
so
is she just
interesting.
high on white wish powder that she's hallucinating?
Maybe at that point
Maybe.
it's a little white powder, you know. Who knows? So they're back on the plane, and Kierce wakes up and she's violently ill. You know, like she's had too much fun at a party, but like more than that. Because it turns out this white powder usually just kills people straight up. And Graves thought originally, he's like, I thought Imani stopped making that, but nope, she still makes it. But again, he believes Kierce is immune to magic, otherwise she'd be dead, like dead. And so he's like, you probably just got like too much ingested into your system and like you're immune to it, but just when you ingest it, it probably makes you violently ill, clearly. So the next interlude we learn that Imani lived with Graves in Paris, and Graves worked with her to hone her powers, but he would not sleep with her. Then she learned that he had a lover, Montrell. And Montrell basically is the one that like made her magic sing. So she ends up joining them, and like have like a nice little threesome, throuple relationship going on here. Except Imani and Montrell fall in love, and Graves sees that and just lets them go. He's like, you know what? You two are more in love. I'm leaving this throuple. Be on your way and live together. And she realizes then later that someone broke into the vault. And she knows it was Graves because he was unexpected to come to this party. They were like, we send you an invite out of courtesy. Like, we don't actually want you to come. And that's why they were all very suspicious when he was there. Like, So she knows right away, like, something's missing from the vault. It was you. I know Graves stole this from me. And she's like, he's going to pay. She vows it. And then we get to this next part, which this fourth part is called The Oak and the Holly King. Again, that's now tied to the book that was referenced earlier. So all of these little clues are dropping into place, but we're still trying to figure it all out.
So when Kierce wakes up, she's still pretty miserable, and it reminds her of when she had, they call it influenza. I'm calling it the flu because it's shorter.
Flu. Yeah.
And took like 3 weeks to recover. But this time she's only been out of it for a day, according to Graves. And then he tells her to forget about training because you almost died. Great. Thank you.
Yeah. At least
Thanks
he's
for my
courteous that
reward.
way.
Yeah. So we learned a lot in her conversation with Graves. Anne is his cat, and her full name is Anne Boleyn that we mentioned earlier, who was famous for charming King Henry VIII and happened to have, no big deal, her head chopped off because of it. The queen, not the cat. Cat still has its head. And that Graves has been personally checking on Cures while she's been out. So I'm like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
And
He liked what he saw in that dress, you know?
He did. He was hoping for a little different action at the end of the party than almost dying. And so he gave her an antidote, but the magic burn is hard on your system. And this is like the first time we learn about magic burn. And he believes that like while Cures was immune to the wish granting powder because it's in the ventilation system. Okay, so you're just like basically pumping like sex wish powder at people at this party.
Like instead of at Disneyland when they pump vanilla in there to make you want to eat sweets, they pump sex powder in the air to make you want to have sex.
Well, it works, but it has no impact on Cures.
No.
And that he never intended to risk her health or safety with this test. But like he says, things definitely got out of hand and he didn't like to see her hurting. And then I'm like, are you a good guy? Are you like a bad guy, good guy?
A bad good guy.
I was just like, my favorite.
A morally gray guy.
Those are my favorite, right? It'll be fine.
Yeah.
So, and the letters that she stole are of a, he says, like a personal nature. And he's wanted them back for 150 years. And I'm like, what the fuck are in these letters?
Yeah. What are in these letters? Oh, holy shit. That's also like such a long time to hold a grudge.
Yes. And then he burns
years.
them. And I'm like, are we never going to find out what are in these letters? Like,
oh. Rude.
So, and then she's like, well, why did you call me Wren at the party? And he's like, well, I wanted Imani in Montreal to know that she's his. And I'm like, okay. So like, there's a little tie to that, right? And then he reiterates that she needs to read the book that he gave her, like The Oak and the Holly King. And so like, she has kind of like already read it, but at this point she's like too kind of like tired and out of it to really like have that conversation with him. And so like the gist that we get from the book at this point is the Oak and Holly King fight twice a year to shepherd in the seasons. That's what I would tell you, like, is the like quick little Cliff's Notes version of what she shares.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like, I have no idea like how this would relate to Graves. You're a warlock, not a winter god. And I'm like, or is he, Cures? Or is he? And then, especially when we learn that the Wren is an important representation of the Holly King, just like the Robin is an important representation of the Oak King. And then I was just like, you know what's real ironic? That diamond ring, when it was first described in the book, was described as the size of a robin's egg.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I was like, I did not even pick that up.
So then I was like, oh my God. So then I'm like, and we know that Lorcan hired Amber. Like, this is when my mind started doing the weird, you know, like.
My mind is doing that now. I don't even comprehend that.
It's like putting all these things up. It's connecting all these like a string. And I'm like, oh. Yeah.
Ooh.
This is the part I became unhinged. Right? And that's just when I became unhinged. Because I'm just like.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. I did not. Oh my gosh. The Robin ring. Oh my God. Okay. Whew. Lot to go down that rabbit hole. And yes. I am here for it. We will get there. Okay. So after the training, which she does eventually do after she kind of like feels better, she sees a message from Nate on her burner phone. And she goes to meet him, which is kind of a stupid move because she hasn't fully recovered from this magic burn. So this is also why it's super easy for her to get picked up by Declan and the Druids. And apparently, like, Lorcan wants to meet with her. And you're like, oh my gosh, girl. So supposedly she can meet with Lorcan, and if she wants to leave afterwards, then they can't stop her, according to the agreement. And like the agreement and the arrangement between Lorcan and Graves. So she's like, okay, I'll agree to go. Like, let's hope that this works out, you know?
I feel like at this point, this is when I started to be like, is Lorcan like that guy that's really into you that you're just like, I'm not interested. Like, we're just friends. And he's like, but like, what if we went out to dinner?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, Lorcan, take a clue.
Right. He's like, but what if I was the last guy on Earth?
Still no.
Still no. It's like, sorry, bud. But this is what happens basically with Lorcan Flynn. So Lorcan says it's imperative that they meet and apologizes again about the circumstances. Cures tells him don't do this again, dude. Like, this is not okay. Like, you cannot just like keep like kidnapping me and threatening to hurt people I love, you know? Like, knock it the fuck off. And he agrees. He's like, okay, fine. Like, next time, like, I'll come myself when I want to talk to you. And I'm like, good, good. You're learning. This is how you approach women. You don't kidnap them. And we find out that Gregory Amberdash is a client of Lorcan's. And so he is actually the one who gave Lorcan her name because he was looking for somebody to break into Graves' house. And Amberdash was unwilling to offer up Kierce's name until all the other options ran out. So in a way, Amberdash kind of set her up ish.
But is he also like a good guy because he was like kind of protecting her
Yeah,
and
like
not
giving her
giving her.
warnings,
Yeah, but then
but
also like the way I took this was that Amber Dash had had a lot of other people try and break into Graves's home
mhm.
unsuccessfully. There was no one else, and then he finally was like, "Okay, I have this one other person."
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm still kind of like, you still gave her name. Like
Yeah, trust no one.
you still did her dirty. So mm.
Touche.
So and because Kyrus walked out of the front door of Grace's house, Lorcan then assumed she was compromised. You know, like, oh, okay, like she needs to be taken out. And so now, though, he's like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I don't see you as my enemy now. Like, I apologize. I shouldn't try to kill you. And you're like, okay. But again, we're like, fool me once, fool me twice, you know? And he's very, very curious about her red necklace. And he makes a comment that Graves has been feeding her information about it. And you're like,
What's that mean?
okay, what does this mean? Like, yeah, I have a red necklace, but what are you talking about? And then Kyrus brings up the berries, questions him about this. Like, these are out of season. Like, how do we have these berries? It's very unusual. And he just responds with, well, we all have our secrets. I'm like, okay. Do you have like a hidden berry stash in the basement? Like, are you secretly growing berries? Like, I don't know. Got some UV lights in the basement growing berries. I don't know. And he wants to know more about like her interest, and he shares with him some of his. And I'm like, do you think this is a date? Do you really like?
Do
She did
you?
not swipe on your profile, dude. Like, she was not into this. Like, come on. And he's like, okay, like, listen, I promise to leave your friends alone. You know, like, will you please forgive me? And again, I'm just like, I don't trust this guy. Don't trust him. Because he also won't tell her the truth of like why he hates Graves. And he's just like, you know, we should leave this for next time. I'm like, what makes you think there's gonna be a next time? But he's like, please, like, just call me. Like, here's my number. Has a little acorn on it. And you're like,
I know that. I
acorn?
like screamed out loud. I was like, "Oh!"
Again, I didn't pick that up. It just went straight over my head. I was just like, okay, it's got an acorn on it. Didn't realize that's because he's the Oak King. And you're like, duh.
That makes me feel a little better because I read, almost the entire book of From Blood and Ash and didn't realize until I was told that the Ascendant were vampires that they were vampires, and you're like, they aren't
Yeah.
seen in the daytime, Stephanie. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
I got that one. I did not get
so
the acorn.
I was just like, oh,
That's funny.
okay.
I did not pick up that acorn. Man.
So then she meets up with Nate again, right? And explains like what happened with the druids. She gives him like the rundown of everything that's been going on. And we get the impression that she's working with Nate on all of this. Which then I'm like, can we trust him? Like, why are we telling Nate everything? You haven't talked to him in a year.
Right? I'm
Like,
like, no.
what? Why are we doing this? So, and then when she shows back up, Graves is pissed. And at first I'm like, well, he's pissed because you're like not following the rules and sneaking out.
Yeah.
And you just like got caught. And
Yeah.
the reality is he's mad because like you're not like feeling well, and like he's worried about her. And then he gets even more pissed and like kind of like loses his shit a little bit when he finds out like she had dinner with Lorcan, which he's like, that violates our agreement. And then we get another dragon reference because he looked like a dragon ready to unfurl his wings and breathe fire. I'm like, this is the third reference.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what is that? Like, there's Caitlin, you're drafting too many clues. There has
Yes.
to be dragons coming to life somehow.
Right. And now I'm like, okay, we have a dragon reference, we have the lion with wings reference, we have
Correct. The
a
sheep.
oak king, the sheep, the holly king, and we're just like, who's who? Who's what?
Yes.
Ah.
So then we learned that Graves and Lorcan used to be really close. They were all like brothers and all but name, but tragedy broke them apart. I immediately assumed it was a girl, but I assumed it was like a girl that they both were like in love with.
Yeah, that's what I assumed too.
Um, and not Lorcan's sister, which hopefully wasn't a girl they both were in love with romantically, because ew.
Yeah, I
Um,
hope he was not in love with the sister. I mean, loved his sister, but not in
loved
love with the
correct.
sister. No.
And we do finally learn more information about the job because, like, at this point, I'm like, are you going to tell her what the hell she's going to go do? Besides that,
Right?
we know it's on the winter solstice and it's the Men of Valor. So we learn that the Men of Valor is named King Louis, and he happens, which is not like his real name, but he likes
Yeah.
to like present himself that way, and he happens to be a vampire. I'm like, okay, I'm learning more
Vampires.
about vampires. I'm learning more about vampires. I feel like I can handle this. His wards were built by Walter Rodriguez, who is a base warlock, which is like the lowest level of warlocks. We know there's 3 levels, and that Graves used to train him. And I'm like, and what did you do to him? Like, right? Like, we know that people that used to like train with you or be associated with you do not like you. And that Walter's flame burned out, but he held on to his force field power and has become now untouchable. And I'm like, then how did his flame burn out if he still has this power and is untouchable? That feels
Like a
contradictive,
flame. Yeah, I'm like,
right?
that feels like there's still something there.
Correct. And then we learn any warlock can create wards, and the wards have the warlock symbol on them. And I'm like, okay, making sense. And that Walter's wards have become unbreakable by Graves, so he needs a ward breaker, which he believes is Kier's. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And like the biggest problem will be finding an exit on the 3rd floor. And so they'll need to do recon, which like I think that word is like a sexual trigger turn on word for Kier's because she's like, recon? Yes.
Yes. I love a
Yes.
little recon. Mm. So I get to be sexy again?
Right?
Yes, but not in the way you hope.
Yeah.
So then suddenly this guy Kingston shows up. And we first heard his name when Graves was speaking with Amani and Montreal about taking care of Kingston. You're like, huh. And it turns out Graves was actually his apprentice. And so here's what we learn again about their time from Kingston. So Kingston seems to know all about Kyr's because he asks, is this her? And you're like, how do you, have you been talking about me? Have you been telling your friends all about me? Am I in the group chat? Okay. And Graves introduces Kyr's as his apprentice. And you're like, okay, so far so good.
I feel like
And
that's the moment where like, you know how if you've ever like dated someone, they're like, oh, and this is my girlfriend. And you're like,
me?
me? Oh, we didn't have that conversation, but okay. I feel like that's what we did. Like, oh, you didn't know you were my apprentice and I was your mentor? Sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't tell you.
Yeah. She's literally like, news to me. Like I just leveled up in this relationship and I had no idea.
I thought I
Cool.
was your captor. I was being held captive.
Yeah, right. We learned that Kingston's gift is persuasion. So I'm like, well, maybe he persuaded Graves to do that. Who knows? And that Graves' gift is knowledge. Makes sense. He's got all libraries. Works. And we also find out that Kingston has the ability to portal, even though like it's his lesser power. So he literally can like make a door in London and like walk through it and then be in New York at Graves' front doorstep. You're like,
That would be
oh,
amazing.
that'd be so cool. That would save you on so much like travel time. I would love it. But he then tells us it's cool, but all magic has a price. Which, okay, this is a very common thing that we know in magical worlds. Magic comes with a price. It wants balance, all this stuff. He's like, after you use this magic, you feel weaker. You need to recharge it. Find out your own way to recharge. So Kingston is very curious about why Graves told Montreal that Kyr's name was Wren. And he even asks him, is she a Wren? So we're like, what do you mean? What is a Wren?
What
Is a
Wren?
Wren?
Is that a thing?
Yeah, I'm like, she's a bird?
I thought that might be a monster at that point. I was like, is a Wren a type of monster?
Yeah, but I was like, well, this is a songbird, like Robin is. And I'm just like, I don't know. Right? And Graves just honestly is like, oh, no, I just used that name to get their attention. And it worked. And you're like, yes, but there's also some intention behind that. Like, what are you not telling us, Graves? But Graves does inform Kingston that Amani is selling her wish powder outside of Chicago. which upsets him because apparently with magic, it's more volatile, like super dangerous, the further away it is from its owner, which is honestly like a threat to all magic users. So, and again, they're living in this world where it's monsters, not magic. And it's like, you're selling your magic far away, like shit's gonna go down. It's gonna be bad. So again, we get a little kind of breadcrumb of things that might happen later. Or would you say maybe a little like powder crumb? A little dusting. A little dusting, yeah. And Graves has not told Kingston at this time about the spear because he doesn't believe that Kingston would approve of this mission, which he's probably right. He'd probably be like, no. And he'd try and persuade him not to do it. But Kingston also really loves to collect things. And Graves is honestly afraid that he might want to intervene and like collect it from him, you know? So it's like, even though like he was his apprentice, like he doesn't really trust him, you know? Like he's like, you might turn on me and do me dirty. And then after Kingston has gone to bed for the night, we finally get a hot and spicy scene between Kierce and Graves. They finally do something about this sexual tension. And it's just been building and building forever in this book. And we're like, finally. Let's just say library sex has never sounded hotter.
Right? Never.
Like,
ever.
And like holding on to the holly leaves, you're just like,
we're like,
hello. I can't wait. So we'll
good.
get to that.
So the next day, the three of them are going to go to the Met because apparently Kingston's magic gets recharged by looking at art. He also seems to know that, like, weirdly, that Graves and Kierce had sex. Like, he's kind of like, did you have a good night?
You had a good night, right? Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
So in this chapter where they like walk through the Met, I know that Graves says like sometime, like she's like, why are we here? Right? Like besides, and he makes the comment kind of like alluding to like sometimes things that you need or helpful like aren't obvious or something like that. Like basically like I think it's a breadcrumb that there's something in that chapter that we're supposed to pick up on. I did not pick up onto it. Can someone explain it to me? Like what? Why did I have to read a chapter about them wandering around the Met? Because I was just like, for the love, what is the point? And I even when I went through and reread the book, as like I was putting together the outline again, I still couldn't figure it out. Like even with like a fine-tooth comb, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
it's just I just kind of assumed it was literally just his recharge. I even was trying to look and like, okay, are there specific art pieces that they're looking at that has like the story to it? And I'm like,
same. And I didn't, nothing. And I feel like what's going to happen is something's going to come out like super obvious about it that like you and I just, everyone's going to be like, well, obviously it was this. And I'm like, yeah, totally didn't see that.
Like, oh, whoops. Okay.
And I looked real hard. Okay. So they decided like Kingston's taking a while. They're going to go outside. They kind of like outside on the bed. And then someone delivers some cinnamon babka to Kierce, which is clear. Well, I'm like, one, you brought dessert. Yay for that. Yum. And then
just sit on the steps of the Met, like little Gossip Girl style, you know, like
exactly.
have your babka and have your little latte and be like,
and someone brings you treats, like, yes.
Yeah, sounds great.
So clearly Lorcan's on it because they talked about this at the dinner, and then that pisses Graves off because it means that Lorcan has an interest in her, and he looks jealous. And I'm like, yes, because I love a jealous man in a romantasy book.
Hands off my woman.
Yes, real life, not really.
Yeah, no.
But in a romantasy book, yes.
Yes. And he was like, why does Lorcan know your favorite food and I don't? And she's like, well, you never asked. Yeah. It's like.
And then he gets her some later, and I'm like, oh. Sweets. Yes, please. Yeah. Okay. And then Kingston like shows up and he mentions that Lorcan likes to do this to Graves and references the wildflowers that Lorcan used to send him, which we learned about in that interlude with Declan. I was like, okay, so this has been going on for a while in terms of like this kind of almost like goading, right?
Yeah, it's a little feud they got going on.
Exactly. And what's interesting is throughout the book, we have not seen, and we don't really see how Graves does any of that to him.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like one thing I noticed too. And then Kingston decides to leave via porting. And like, I think Kingston was kind of like, I mean, I could stay another night, and Graves is like, or you could go.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, when they say like, there's, what is it? Like family staying at your house is like fish. It's like 3 days and then it needs to go, like get out. I felt like this was like Kingston's is like 1 day and then he needs to leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Grace mentioned something really interesting was that Kingston has become immune to consequences. So Kingston has a history of killing things that he doesn't understand and asking questions later. So then I was like, okay, there has to be more to this comment about like that comment and about Kingston. Like something has happened in the past where Kingston has killed someone or something because he didn't understand it.
Yeah. I'm just like, oh, wonder if Kingston actually killed Lorcan's sister
Right?
and like framed Graves for it. Or I don't know. Hmm. I don't know. There's so many theories on that too. Um, but then next up, we have a meeting with Dr. Mahi again. And we learn that Kierce is not a warlock based on her DNA sequencing. And honestly, like Dr. Mahi's not super sure what she is. She's like, I don't know what you are, but I can tell you what you are not. And she's like, you do have an elevated white blood cell count though. And you're like, okay. And this kind of questioning causes Kierce to be like, well, when I had the flu, it was like really similar to how I felt like after ingesting this white powder. So, like maybe like, I don't know. And that's because according to Dr. Mahi, that her body eats magic. And you're like, what?
What?
And Graves is like, no, no, no. Like she's not eating it. She's absorbing it. And then Dr. Mahi's like, ooh, I want to find out more and wants to take more of her blood for testing. And Graves reminds her, and you're like, okay, but nobody can know about this. And he like looks really worried and like almost accusatory, I think, at that point of like,
I think so
no one
too.
knows you're doing this, right? Like you're not going to
Reminder.
backstab me. Yeah. Like,
We talked about this.
yeah. Yeah. So again, like this is kind of like a little moment when Graves knows what she is, like in regards to Kier's, but isn't telling her. And like this only comment is that he thinks she is something very old. You're like, but I
Super
don't smell
helpful.
like death, right? Like I'm thinking
Right?
like Poppy. I'm like, I'm old, but I don't smell like death. Okay, right. Okay. Be clear. I smell
Thanks,
good, right?
Warlock Kieran. You're
Yeah,
so
right.
helpful.
Just like this is so unhelpful.
So when they get back to the house, Graves and Kira's chat again, and we learn a couple of things. So, because at the time, we're thinking the only time she's been able to use her magic is like in his wards. And then she realizes sometimes, and we saw this in the book, where she can slow things down for a short period of time, and then she feels really sluggish and sick afterwards, which is her using her magic.
Did that remind you
And
of Andarna's magic?
it did. And then I was
Yeah.
like, dragons. And then I was
Dragons.
like, dragons.
Yep.
So then Graves shares that another one of his powers is Nora's distortion, so he can make a room soundproof. And he makes the comment,
Norse distortion.
noise distortion. Let me. He might also have Nora's distortion. I don't know what that is, but one of his powers is noise distortion, and so he can make a room soundproof. And then he comments, like from like mums and stuff, and I was like, oh hot damn.
Oh,
Thank you.
yes.
But his real main ability is reading. So when he touches someone, he can read their memories, and that's why he wears gloves. And all I thought was, okay, Dane.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, I kind of get a little Dane vibes from him because, like, I
Yeah.
didn't like Graves initially, and
Yeah.
now I'm like loving on Graves. So,
Yeah.
okay. But he can't read Kier's because even though he wishes he could, so he's had to learn like her body language and like all the things she doesn't say. And I'm like, okay, so you actually had to get to know her.
Yeah.
That
Right?
sounds like a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's been using this kind of power to get the information on the third floor. And she's like, oh, I just assumed you were torturing people. He's like, who said I wasn't? And I'm like, wait,
Uh-oh.
are you torturing people? Or is
Yeah.
this like,
Oopsies. What did I just wander into?
right? And then when Kier's passed out in his arms after ingesting all of the white wish powder, he did see a memory of her being seriously injured, which when he tells her about it and describes it, she knows that's when Jason tried to kill her when she left him. But she doesn't mention this to Graves. So he just thinks at this point it's a hallucination. And then reading restores Graves' magic. So that's why you see him reading all the time. And then Pierce is like, I think stealing restores mine. And I'm like, okay, that you're a thief. That kind of makes sense. I'm like, but why can't you have a power like, why can't sex restore your magic?
Right? Let's bring another little like succubus kind of a thing in here where it's like
Exactly. Wouldn't that be
desire and
cool?
stuff.
I
I
know.
like
I'm
that.
like, I need someone whose magic is restored by sex. So, and then Grave has her practice making wards because we remember all warlocks can make wards. And when he said that originally, I was like, Kirsten's not gonna be able to make wards. Like, it's like that time where everyone's like, this is really easy to do. And then like you do it and you're like, this was not easy to do. Like, what?
Like Violet trying to
And
make a rune. She's just like,
yes,
I don't know how to do this.
they're like, children can do this, and I cannot do this. So, and so,
That's
shockingly, she's
yeah.
extremely unsuccessful at it, which then frustrates the hell out of her because I think in her mind, in a lot of ways, she's been so successful at everything she's accomplished in the thieving world, and this kind of feels like that to her. It's very frustrating for her to not be successful with making a ward.
Yeah.
But I'm also like,
Yeah.
why would you make a ward on a box like that? Can we try something bigger and badder, like more badass?
Right?
Maybe
Yeah.
she just needs something bigger to like break out her ward creation skills.
Mm. I can think of something bigger. Okay, so we'll go there. Okay, so then we get another interlude. And here we see Edgar going to the Covenant to find out what's really going on with Dr. Mahi, because Graves has been very suspicious. He's like, I trust no one. And that's when they find out that Dr. Mahi has been sending information about potential blood matches to the Vampire King. Naughty, naughty, naughty. Mm-mm. And when Graves finds this out, he tells Edgar to bring Dr. Mahi to the house if he can, but don't kill her. And also, like, destroy all this evidence. You know, like, delete, delete, delete all the things on the hard drive. And then we get to part 5, and it's entitled The Third Floor. We're like, okay, we're getting some third floor action. Let's find out. It opens with Graves and Kierce finally doing some recon together. Again, I think recon might also be like a way she empowers herself.
Yes.
And today's goal is to make sure Kierce can actually get inside the third floor and bypass all of Walter's wards that he's put around it. And Kierce literally is like a kid on Christmas morning because recon is her jam. You know, she's like, let's do this. I got this. I'm so excited. Woo! And assuming that she can get inside, the next task then would be to just kind of get the lay of the land, find another exit if you can. Seems easy, right? No problem. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? So we learned a lot during this recon. Apparently, Walter also is a carver because he's carved wards into the walls, which makes them more permanent. He has a
Mm-hmm.
computer system that allows people to enter when the wards are still up, but it'll keep others like Graves out. So there's kind of like a computer system, there's these access cards, and then we have the wards. And Kierce is able to easily get in through one of these checkpoints using an access card that Graves got for her. She also ends up stealing another access card at the time, too. And then we do see this statue of Coraline Lamorte, which is a name that we heard earlier in the book that I honestly didn't pay much attention to. I also giggled it. Couldn't find anything like real about this person. But the statue has a plaque under it that says "Sacrifice reaps the greatest reward," and it's odd to Kierce because she's often a symbol of revolution and peace, which is the opposite of what King Louis and the Men of Valor want.
Yeah, like they want to break the monster treaty and like
Correct.
wreak havoc over everyone again. So I'm like, why do you have a statue of this lady that brought peace?
Or is she not who we
She's
think
not what
she
we
is,
thought.
right?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
Kierce decides to try and find, because like she's down there, she's supposed to be on this recon mission. She's like, I think I'll go find Orc Thompson, who is the vampire that took Tora. I mean, while I'm down here, and I'm like,
Yeah. It's
what?
like, is my ex-girlfriend here? I'm gonna find
Like,
that
what's
asshole
going
that
on?
took her. Let's
Because
get
I
some
think
info.
at this point, I think she thinks Tora's dead, right?
Oh yeah, she full
And
on is like she's been gone for a year. I think she's dead.
she's
Yeah.
dead. Well, he works at the Red Velvet, and I'm like, that sounds like a fun place. Um,
All
and
I
then,
wanted was a red velvet cupcake.
oh yes,
Yeah.
it
I
does
was
sound
like, oh, it's a cupcakery, right?
no
No.
of
No.
women maybe.
Or men.
So, and then Kierce ends up finding Orc, and he did take Tora and deliver him to King Louis because, and then this is an interesting comment. All Red Velvet workers owe their debts to. So everyone that works the Red Velvet owes their debt to King Louis, which makes sense. But Tora didn't work at the Red Velvet before she was taken, or did she?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, what's her debt?
So I think there's more to her story than we
Yeah.
learn. And then
Mm-hmm.
Orc, I mean, he has to die.
Not
I
naturally.
mean,
I
like,
mean, he's just,
obviously.
yeah.
Okay. So then
And
Kierce
he gets
finds
like dead, dead. She like,
dead, dead, cuts his head off. Because
yeah,
apparently that's how you kill vampires.
yeah. Or you stab him in the heart, or you cut their head off.
Easy peasy,
Makes
right?
sense. Yeah.
So then Kierce finds Tora, who's like, I just feel like she's knocking on our room, like, and Tora's like, what? Like, what? And
Like I
she's
did
like,
not to see you.
correct. She's like, we've got to get out. Tora's like, you've got to get out of here. Like, you can't be seen here. And then when Kier's like, I also killed Orc. And she's like, you like have definitely got to leave. She's like, leave, find a way to get me out eventually. And then like shit starts to get really real because apparently like someone has found his body. And so there's like alarms going off in the Red Velvet, which is like another brothel, like a
Yeah,
vampire brothel.
naturally.
Um, and so Kyr's has to flee. And then Kyr's like leaves the third world and tells Graves what happened when she sees him. And this is the first time she's like really talks about Tora with anyone in the book. Because every time someone else brings her up, she kind of shuts down the conversation. And then she shares about like their previous relationship. And it's the first time she's also vulnerable to really anyone outside of Jen and Ethan. And I would even question like how vulnerable she is with Jen and Ethan in the book because we don't see a lot of it. And then Grace kind of like steps up emotionally, like wraps his arms around her, and then she cries. And I'm like, this feels like an emotional turning point for them. We had like a sexual turning
Yeah.
point, but this
Hmm.
feels like there's more there's more to this relationship.
Yeah, it's building. It's building more. So then Kyr's continues to just go back and forth, to third floor, like on recon missions, trying to find an exit that just like isn't controlled by one of Walter's checkpoints. Because she's like, we need to find a safe exit after the solstice. But she's just not been successful in doing so. And Tora then also warns her about the winter solstice party because last year, accordingly, it was a bloodbath, and tells Kyr's that like whatever invitation Graves got for the party, it's not going to work, and Kyr's should like not use it to get in. Like it's just that's going to be a red flag. And so finally, then Kyr's gets a little bit of a break when she sees Walter during one of her recon missions, and she ends up following him. And eventually, he actually leads her to an exit that isn't a checkpoint. It's like, oh my gosh, like this is too convenient. I feel like
Also,
maybe they know.
why would he not need like why would he need an exit that's not a checkpoint?
Exactly.
If he built them, like what else is he up to?
Yeah, it's like what are you hiding that you don't want to be seen? So she eventually gets out of the third floor and runs into Lorcan, of course. And then like, are you stalking her?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Yes, you are. Yeah. And he's like, well, technically, like this time I came personally to get you. I didn't, get you kidnapped. I'm like, thanks, I guess. He's like, I really need to talk to you. So like, where can we go? And it's like, well, all right, at least sometimes like now you're gonna be good for your word, I guess. Like you didn't kidnap me. Thank you so much. But he's like, I got some stuff to tell you. I'm not the bad guy. Graves is. And we're like, that's something a bad guy would say, I'm just saying. And Lorcan also assumes that the third floor business is related to Walter, being like, he's just like a failed pet project of Graves. Like, that's why he wants in there. And he's like, by the way, Graves and I were like family. Like, we were like brothers until Graves' betrayal. And you're like, what was the betrayal? Tell me now. And basically, he's like, you know what? If you leave Graves, you can come with me and you'll be safe with me and my druids. Like, you don't have to stay with him. I will help you. I'll protect you. Like, I'm the good guy. And you're like, I don't know, buddy. And then he kind of throws out a weird comment of just being like, you put me off balance. And I'm like, are you saying you're in love with her? Like,
Right?
seriously. And like, it's a very interesting comment because he said it before how much balance is important to him and in his life and in his work. And I'm like, so you shouldn't like the thing that puts you off balance. And I'm like, I'm suspicious, dude. And then he's like, can you please give me your phone number? Like, I gave you my card with mine and you never called me or texted or whatever. And like, please just give me your number. And she's like, oh, fine. Like, leave me alone. Like, here's my number. Bye.
Which number did she give him? One of the burner
Right.
phone
Oh,
numbers or like the one like that was my question.
yeah.
When she gets back to Graves's house, I'm like it starts to get a little bit like spicy. I'm like, oh, we're gonna get another spicy scene. And then her fucking burner phone rings. I'm like, God. Like, I was like, you just killed the mood, right? Even more so when we learn it's Nate and he's like, Ethan and a bunch of the wolves were drugged. And I'm like, wait, what?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. So you're as protective as the roulettes. Great. Great. And Graves is like, go save your friend. But he's really upset because since she's talking to Nate and has his burner cell phone, he knows that she broke the bargain. And then we get another dragon reference. Graves had opened his mouth, ready to breathe fire like the dragon he was. And I'm like, okay, something's going on. And she tells him, we'll talk about this when we get back. And he responds, like, we both know you're not coming back. And I'm like, like, I feel so bad for him in that moment because he says earlier, right? Like, everyone leaves.
Yeah. There's also, he has that dragon knocker.
Right, exactly.
Front door. So I'm like, are you
There's
a dragon?
something. I think
Who's the dragon?
someone's a dragon. Someone is a dragon.
Yeah.
Okay, so the situation with the Ethan and the wolves is real bad. Mora has done like everything she can do without being a doctor, but they can't take them to the doctors because they won't survive it. And then someone mentions red power, and that's when Kyrus realizes this is Amani's magic wish power, and that's why like power, wish powder.
Same thing. It's her power in powder form.
It's her power. Powder.
Powder, puff girls.
Yeah.
Right.
And she's like gonna have to use her powers to try and absorb the magic from Ethan, which she's ultimately able to do, but she's not able to save the wolves. I mean, like, only problem, it basically knocks her out for a few days. It's fine. It's fine.
Oof.
So when she wakes up, she tells Ethan and Jen that they both have magic because she felt that when she was trying to save Ethan. And then Jen mentions feeling it too. Ethan clearly didn't feel it because Ethan was almost dead.
Yeah, right. I'm like, well, you're dying, so.
Yeah. And then that's when she also learns she's actually been out for 3 days and is like kind of freaks out. She's like, I need to go back to Graves. So in that moment, I'm like, okay, you really do have strong feelings for him. This isn't just nothing. So then we have the next interlude, which shows Isolde. Wait.
Isolde.
Sorry, my brain just was like, wait, what?
I know, right?
And she references this dark place that Graves is currently in, which is similar to when she first met him. And I'm like, when did you first meet him? I have questions.
How old are you?
How old are you? And that's when she learns Kyrus is left. And she asks Graves, what will you do? And his response is, start over again. And I'm like, do you know what he's trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, and then, like, she mentions that she thought Kyrus was different. And Graves basically says, like, I did too. And I'm just like, so my heart breaks from him. Because, like, I just imagined, like, especially if you think about, like, a court of Mist and Fury when Rhysand is like, she's my mate, she's my, like, in, like, that moment. Or, like, when he thinks that, like, she loves Tamlin and, like, is gonna get married to him and is like, he's gonna go get rip-roaring drunk with, like, Cassian and Az. Yeah. And then like, you know what I mean? Like, he's so devastated. And that's what it brought into my mind thinking about that.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, Graves, I'm so sad for you right now. Then we get part 6, and it's called The Winter Solstice. And we're like, oh my gosh, winter solstice. And it starts with Kyrus trekking back to Graves' mansion. Of course, he has a mansion. Love it. And he is shocked to see her. Because again, he's like, everybody leaves me. Like, no one comes back. But she tells him what happened. She's like, dude, I was trying to help my friends, and I got knocked out. And she's also like, you know what? This is no longer about a job for me. Like, I need to do this to help Tora get out of here. And she's like, and we need to get that spear away from King Louis. And she's like, and I'm also here for you. And it's like, oh, because he's like, I thought this was goodbye. And she's like, no, this was not me leaving you. Calm down. I'm here. It's okay. Take some breaths.
I told you I was coming back.
Right? Yeah. And then we finally get to see Graves start to open up, and we learn a little bit more about him. So apparently his mother also died when he was born, because apparently giving birth to a warlock kills the mother, because they just simply can't survive the magic of, like, the loss of it. And that's partly why he thought Kyrus was also a warlock too initially. And then his father blamed Graves for his mother's death, which happened the same day King Henry VII died, which makes him super old. Super old. Like, very, very old.
Hundreds of
Hundreds of
years
years
old.
old. Yes.
Yeah.
And Graves apparently was sold to a merchant on his 6th birthday. So I'm like, not only did your mother die when you were born, but your father only kept you around for 6 years and then sold you like a piece of property. And you're like, ugh. But it turns out that was honestly for the best because his dad was a dick. So eventually he got away and then went to Ireland because that's where his mother's family was from. So he's like, I'm going to go back there. But that's a story for a different time. And you're like,
Tell me that story.
I want to know more. Take me to Ireland. Let's go. Let's hop on a plane and go right now. Please. And Kyrce is able to feel Graves' magic finally. So like up until now, she like hasn't been able to. And she's like, it does smell like leather and books. And Graves says that her magic smells like spring. Specifically, a lake in Ireland where thousands of wildflowers bloom. And you're like, wait a second. I've heard of these Irish wildflowers before. But like, it doesn't throw him off. Because remember, like everything else, like he got really pissed off when wildflowers were around. So he's okay with this.
It like almost makes him happy.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, could he be the sister? Could she be the sister reincarnated? Maybe. So then Kyrce shares with him about how Jason treated her. And, you know, Jason was like the guy who taught her all about how to like steal and everything, her mentor. And that memory that Graves saw was from Jason, like how basically he left her to die in that alley and like it was bad. And she shares that, you know what, I killed Jason. But we're also kind of like, if we don't see a dead body, we don't always believe he's dead. But she's like, no, he's dead. And we're like,
is he?
Could be a vampire. I don't know.
I didn't even think about that as an option.
I'm just saying, nobody's dead until their head's cut off. And but also like her relationship with Jason reminded me a lot of Aelin's relationship with Arabin. I think that was his name, right? From the Blade of the Assassin. Assassin's Blade. So I was just like, oof, like that's a complicated relationship and did not go well. So Kyrce admits that, you know, it's different with Graves. And like it has been honestly since she came to him in the tunnels and was vulnerable with him. And he's the first person that she has wanted something more with. And like kind of like a little bit of like vice versa.
This is when in my head, so High School started playing by Taylor Swift. I was like,
yeah, you're like, oh, you guys. So cute.
So cute. And then we finally get another spicy scene, and this time it's in Graves' bedroom with his gloves off. It's really great. It's the first time he's ever let anyone into his bedroom.
The West Wing.
Yes. I'm just like, oh.
So good.
Finally, we get to the Winter Solstice, which is like what this book has been building up to. Tora helps Kyrce get into the party by posing as a red velvet girl. I mean, like, the only problem is, like, she looks like she's seen sun, and the red velvet girls definitely have not. Yeah. But it'll be fine.
And she has, like, muscles, you know, like, she's not like been starved to death.
Or sucked dry.
Or sucked, She was the other night. Oh.
Not as much as the red velvet girls, though.
True. Ugh. But I think the red velvet girls have to do more of the sucking.
I think so. But vampires also suck their blood, too, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. At the same time.
So it's a little, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, she's dressed really sexy.
Really sexy. And the plan is that Graves is going to meet her up inside because they figured out a way for him to get in. And like, the only way I can say what happens in the rest of the book is like a lot of shit goes down. So buckle up. We're going to dive in. It's a lot.
Buckle.
So
let's go.
Buckle up. We're going. The party is filled with all kinds of monsters, not just vampires, which is what she thought it would originally be. There aren't any werewolves because obviously no one wants to be around a werewolf on a full moon. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Kyrce has like pretty quickly 2 people try to pick her up at the party since all of the red velvet girls are apparently up for grabs. It's like a free for all. You see a girl, grab a girl.
Yeah.
The first woman that tries to pick her up kind of like leaves her alone. The guy that tries to pick her up just basically is gonna not take no for an answer. And so Kyrce is like, well, if I get him in a room, I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah.
But Graves shows up and then makes it really clear that Kyrce is his property. Like that's how he
Mm-hmm.
refers to her, which is kind of hot. And then Grace also is very turned on by what she's wearing. And he makes a comment like, you got to wear that for me later. And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
oh, yes, she does.
Yes, she will.
Then,
Yes,
very,
Daddy.
yes, Daddy, right? Then King Louis shows up, which is sooner than they had hoped because their initial goal was to be gone before like he kind of like arrived. But since Graves was delayed getting in, like their timeline's been pushed back a little bit. And you see that King Louis is protected by Walter and his force fields. And he talks about how they are the rightful rulers of this world and it's time to take it back. He mentions that they feast tonight and tomorrow the real work begins. And I'm like, what were you planning? Like, what are you planning? Like, that's very ominous words because we've also heard, right, that last year it was a bloodbath. And then we see Dr. Mafi, who basically shows up and is like, you're here to kill me. And I'm like, no, they have bigger fish to fry. Like, it's not, I
Yeah.
want to be like, it's not all about you.
Right. Stop being such a
And
narcissist. Not everything's about you.
exactly, it's not about you. And Graves, and that, but I feel like she's like, but what if it is? Um, and Graves tells her, like, I sent Edgar to protect you, not kill you. And I'm just like, girl, if he wanted you dead, you'd already be dead. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then Kirsha's the one I think that gets her to like believe them. And then that's when she confesses that she's been doing all this like under the table work for some politicians, which I obviously want to know more about because then that means that there's more corruption in this world that we haven't even seen yet. And then King Louis found out and blackmailed her. He's looking for blood with magical components that would make him strong enough to win the war. I'm like, what war? The monster war
Yeah.
is over. Did you not get
Yeah.
the memo?
Right? There's a treaty. There's a
Ex-
statue. You have that
like, what's going
statue.
on? I know, it's very weird. So then the doctor lets Graves read her mind. So he can get like more up-to-date blueprints on the third floor for him to use in this kind of like adventure they're going on to steal this thing. And then she tells him to be quick because King Louis intends for tonight to be a slaughter. And I'm like, what is that? So like last year was a bloodbath. This is going to be a slaughter. They say feast tonight. Like
It's
there
like
is
no one's
more.
making it out alive. That's what
Yeah,
I
and there's
assumed.
more going on than what we're led to believe, I think.
Yeah. So then Graves and Kierce, kind of pretend that they're like, making out, like, walking down the hallway. Try not to be suspicious. And they fight off these two guards. And then Kierce gets to work breaking this vault lock. She's really good at it, guys. Like, she's got, like, all this stuff. And the combination ends up being, like, a sequence of numbers. And she's like, what would Walter use? Like, you knew him. Like, what would he use that has, like, a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, it's pi. 3.1459. And she's like,
Oh.
what? She's like, oh, thank God, like, you like knowledge. And, very helpful in that situation, Graves. Thank you so much. So Kyrus gets into the room with the spear, and then an alarm goes off, of course. The doors slam down between her and Graves, and he's just like, oh my God, get out. And she gets knocked out. Like, everything goes black, doesn't know what happens. She wakes up. She's in the main room now in front of King Louis and the spear. And she looks down and like sees Tora and then like another girl who appears to be like passed out, probably dead. And King Louis refers to her as the guest of honor. And I'm like, wait, what? And apparently he's gone to a lot of trouble to get her there. And you're like, what does that mean? Did you plan for this? Did you set her up?
Right?
Did Graves set her up? Like, now I'm not trusting him. I'm just like, was
I'm like,
he a
is there
part of this?
prophecy?
Yeah. I'm just like, I don't know. Is there more to it than him just like looking for powerful blood? Like, he's just, I don't know, man. And then, of course, King Louis bites her on the wrist, which causes her to scream, naturally. Because,
Not in the good way, like Poppy screams.
No. It's a bad bite. It's not a fun bite. And King Louis claims like her blood is just like full of power. And like he wants to be unstoppable. And he's just like, I have my spear. I'm able to end the monster treaty. And you're like, oh shit, this is not good. And while this is happening, Kyrus feels drawn to the spear and just like feels it humming with energy. And it's like calling out to her. It's like, wield me, use me, unleash me. And she's able to like reach out and pick up the spear, just like, and tells King Louis that she'll save her fucking self. Go, girl. She's like, I don't need no man. I can save myself. Boom. Gets it. Steps through the force field, kills King Louis with the spear. Gone. And then Graves shows up and kisses her and just calls her my Wren, my Wren. And it's like time has like stopped in that moment, you know?
That's
And
what I
I don't know, maybe,
imagine.
maybe she stopped it.
Oh,
I don't know. But it's just like a moment of like, oh my God, I just survived this like super horrendous thing. And like now the man I love is here saving me. And you're like, oh, wonderful. But then, like they come back to reality. Kierce, Graves, and Tora like take off running because, they just killed the Vampire King. So probably should get out of there. And thankfully, while all this was happening, Graves has been killing guards left and right on the patch of their exit while he was gone. So they're pretty good in the clear, but they run into Walter. And Kierce tells Graves, you know what? You should let him go because he claims to have just been doing this work for the men of valor because he had to, and now he's like, I'm done. Like, you killed the king. Like, I'm out. Like, my debt's paid in a way. It's like, I don't want to keep doing this. And it turns out also that they really needed to get that spear because it is a god spear. It's a spear that belongs to a god. And you're like, what? And that's when it clicks. That's when it dawns on Kierce and me. Graves is the Holly King. And then he responds to with, yes, and you're my Wren. And you're like, hold up. We need to roll back, people. And apparently, Graves comes into his power on the summer solstice, and it ends on the winter solstice. And when it ends, his Wren actually enhances his power. And you're like, okay. And supposedly, then after the solstice, she will be his downfall. So he thought, working with her obviously was going to be a gamble, but he's like, it's a gamble worth taking to get what I needed. He's like, but I never expected to fall for you. And you're like, so sweet, so loving. And then, Tora is very grateful to be out. And, obviously also this entire way, like Graves has been carrying her because she's been practically drained of all blood. Like she can't walk.
function.
So he carries her out because again, Kierce is like, I need to save her. Like I can't save this other chick who's clearly dead, but like I'm gonna save Tora. I wanted to do that. And so they get all out. And Tora is, very, very grateful to be out. And she's like, but you know what? I want to go find my own way. Like, I don't need to ride anywhere. Let me go walk the streets. And I'm like, that feels weird.
It does.
I'm just like, no. Just because you're, like, out of, like, the lair of the vampires doesn't mean you're safe. Like, also, look at what you're wearing, Like, you're scantily clad.
Where are you going to go? It's winter.
Yeah, like, it's winter. Where are you going? I don't understand. Very suspicious. I also had a thought here. I was like, well, if Kierce is the Wren, what if Tora is the Robin?
Ooh.
And like, I don't know, like they were drawn together in a certain way. I don't know. Maybe that's just a crazy, crazy conspiracy I came up with all of a sudden. But we do learn a little bit more about these magical objects. So reason why they wanted to get the spear. So there are 4 magical objects. We have the spear, the sword, the cauldron, and the stone, which I immediately was like, the black stone that was in the box with the fingernail?
Right?
I don't know. But supposedly that's not it because Graves says he only had the sword. And like now he's like, okay, now we have the spear. And after the gods left, these artifacts apparently were thrown across the world with their locations unknown. And the spear is actually the loudest one because it's just unstoppable. So that was kind of the easiest one to find, supposedly. And then we also find out that Graves' mother descended from a magical line who worshipped Tuath de Danann. I don't know if I can even say that right.
Sounded pretty good to me.
Tuath de Danann. There we go. I like it. And anyone of this line can lay claim to them, to owning those 4 magical objects. So he's like, I have claim. I have claim. It's good. And he's like, I already have the sword, but I need all 4 of these to do a spell. But he won't tell you anything about like what the spell is for. It's just, all he says is like, it's a very powerful spell. But to do what? What are you trying to do? I don't know. And he shows her the sword, and it's the sword of truth. And supposedly its power is to show the truth in all things. And you're like, okay, well, still doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
So unfortunately, they have another problem because when they get to the house, it's really quiet, and Kyr's can feel that the wards are down. I'm like, Graves, how can you not feel that your wards are down?
Right? Yeah.
It's
Maybe
just
just
so
because she
weird.
has the ward magic, she can feel it faster.
It's
Not ward
possible.
magic, but like, I don't know.
Yeah. So Lorcan has Jen and Ethan by knife point. And I was like, when I read this, was like, fucking Lorcan, that you are not a man of your word. You specifically said you would not hurt them. And then things get crazier if that is even possible. So
Right.
Lorcan wants the two objects because they belong to his people. He calls Graves Brannon. Lorcan says he's the Oak King, which we kind of like saw coming, and says he would have spared her and her friends, but there are consequences to theft of his property. And I'm like, you didn't even have the fucking sphere. How is someone stealing from you? Who stole from you?
Yeah, right? Like you
None
can't
of
just
this,
say finders keepers.
right? Like, I wanted it and you stole it. It wasn't mine, but like maybe in a past life it was. I'm just like, what the hell? So apparently he performed a ritual to take down the wards at Graves' house because his magic is stronger on the solstice. He threatens to kill her friends, which, once again, remember how you said you weren't going to do that, Lorcan?
Liar,
If
liar,
Kyrus
pants on
doesn't,
fire.
exactly. If Kyrus doesn't give him the sphere, we learn that Lorcan and Graves have been fighting for 500 years. That is a long time to hate someone.
Right? The
Like a
longest feud in
long,
history.
correct. And according to Lorcan, druids are the beacons of good in this world, and Graves is the villain. I'm like, says every villain. Like, okay. Then we finally learned that that Graves supposedly killed Lorcan's sister with his bare hands in cold blood when she was 16. And when I read that, I was like, okay, Graves does not refute it at all. Like, he doesn't even look at Curious. He just keeps his eyes locked on Lorcan. And I think that's a really important thing. Like, he doesn't say, like, yes, I did this. He doesn't say,
No, I
that's not
didn't.
true.
Yeah.
He kind of almost ignores it.
Yeah.
And Lorcan says he'll let everyone go if Kyrus gives him the sphere. But Graves is like, don't do it. He'll still kill everyone. I'm like, yeah, he will. He's like his
he'll
bitch.
absolutely do it.
He is 1,000% going to still do this. He also told you he wouldn't hurt them. Yet here we are. And then that's when Kyrus says, he has my weakness. That's how he can do it. I'm sorry that you have no weaknesses. And I'm like, that was mean, Kyrus. And then that's when Lorcan realizes and questions if Graves is in love with Kyrus.
It reminds me of
He's
the
like,
Hercules and Meg scene, It's like, oh no, there is a weakness, and it's you, Meg, for Hercules.
right?
Yeah.
And then he threatens to shoot Kyrus. And that, let's just say, makes Graves slightly unhinged. And then he uses the Sword of Truth on Kyrus. And it has a very unexpected outcome because it reveals that she's a wisp, which is like in the first book he had her read.
Yeah.
Which is before,
I did not expect her to be a wisp.
I didn't either. And then I was also a little confused because like a wisp is like a fae.
Yeah.
And I was
It's like I imagine like the wisp from like Brave. Like, Meredith is these little like wisps, these little like blue like energy balls, and she has like follow them somewhere. I'm like, so she's an energy ball?
But like, she's not.
But she's not. It's like,
so
what kind of wisp are you?
I had to reread that a couple times because I had a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And then Graves admits that like he suspected that might be the case the night he learned that she could absorb magic, but he wasn't sure because he's never seen a wisp. There's never been a wisp with like those limitations. And I'm like, but you just said like wisps weren't around.
Yeah. You're like, this doesn't make sense.
This math is not mathing. And then he did not know she was bound. But he had always planned to use the Sword of Truth, I guess, on her tonight. And I'm just like, wait, if you didn't know she was bound, why would you use the Sword of Truth? Like, I'm so confused.
Yeah. It's so weird. You're like, I don't know.
I'm like, okay, Warlock Kieran, like, not helpful.
Yeah. But then Lorcan
like we're talking in a rhyme.
Yeah, but then like Lorcan is like, Graves didn't tell you because wisps can also kill warlocks. And it's like, oh.
But how?
And Graves is like, I never saw you as a threat though. Like, I don't think you can kill, like, you could kill me, but that's not why I didn't tell you. But of course, we're like, I don't know. I don't know, buddy. And then Kier's claims that the spear is hers since she's now unlocked the, realization that like it's also her birthright too. I'm like, if I'm a wisp, I'm a fae, then I can claim this and you can't take this from me. And I'm like, okay, girl, you go. You go. You stand there with that spear and be like, take it from me, bitches. And Lorcan's like, okay, she can have it. He's like, I think he's weirdly like turned on by that, honestly. He's
I
like,
don't, he's weirdly turned on by some weird shit.
weird stuff. Yeah. And then, which now I feel bad for Graves because he's just like, damn it. Like, she's got the spear. Like, eventually he's going to lose the sword. And you're just like, wow, shit. And then Graves is like, you know what? Let's settle this. Let's go. Like, settle everything between him and Lorcan. But then Lorcan again points the gun at Kierce, which causes Graves to lunge at him. And it just like barely misses her, Like Lorcan and Graves are starting to a fight. Kierce uses her slow motion powers. Basically, I feel like it's like the Matrix, just like a
That's what I thought of too. Like,
yeah. And she tracks down the druids holding on to her friends, Ethan and Jen. And Lorcan ends up stabbing Graves and like gets him onto his back and then goes to use the same sword, the sword to try and kill him. But Kierce steps in front of it with the spear. And she's just like, basically like, not on my watch, like you were not doing this. And there's like an explosion.
my man.
Not my man. Mm-mm. There's an explosion of magic and white light appears and it's god magic. And Kierce like struggles to absorb this energy because basically it was, all the magic that Lorcan was like holding and like saving to kill Graves. He like literally threw into that last like final like stabbies, the final swing of his sword. He's like, I'm putting all my magic into this. And Kierce just like jumps in front of it, kind of like Anna when she's trying to like protect Elsa from Hans. Yep. And she's like,
no,
and so she gets hit with all of that, and she's like trying to absorb all of this energy to like protect him. And she feels like she's being burned alive. And Lorcan immediately is like, oh my God, that was not meant for you. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, oh, no, 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 no. And she's, laying there just like basically not in control of her body. And Graves is like, give it to me. Like, give me that blow that was meant for me. Not a blow job. Anyway, he's
I
just
can't
like,
wait to transfer the magic.
That could be. Yeah. But he's just, like, give it to me, give me this magic. And she's trying, but it's not working. And she's just like, she can't even like say anything. Like she's so physically stunned, but she just can't do it until he kisses her. And then she sees one of his memories. And unfortunately, Lorcan and Graves just can't save her. Lorcan literally used all of his magic. So Ethan and Jen, there's this weird 3 people thing, connect to Kierce, like holding on to each other's. And somehow that joint magic saves her. And this is where we learned that when Ethan, Jen, and Kierce joined together, the 3 parts of the soul in Celtic heritage, it's called a triskel. So you have a druid, a high priestess, and a wisp. And we learned that Ethan apparently is a druid, while Jen is the high priestess. And, obviously we know that Kierce is the wisp. And supposedly they are Lorcan's people and they should belong to him or with him, and he's like, only I can help you and train you. And Kierce, comes back to life and, she's okay. And Kierce then tells him to leave. And then Lorcan tells her, I've missed you so. You're like, what?
Like in the 2 minutes when he almost killed me?
Yeah, it's like first you tried to kill the man I love. I stepped in. You obviously unintentionally hit me. You didn't mean to try and kill me. But I've missed you? That's where I start to think, I'm like, is maybe part of her soul like part of like his sister? Like,
or past love.
Or past love? Yeah, I'm just like, there's something going on here. Like, who do you think she is now? What do you think is happening? I don't know.
Why are you so weird?
Yeah, so weird, so cryptic. He's also like a Kieran, we're just like, what are you saying? And then Graves also offers to train, Ethan and Jen and Kyrus more. But the three of them are like, you know what? No, we need to leave. Which I don't blame them. I'm like, this is a toxic environment right here. Like, you should definitely get out of this situation and make your own decisions later on your own. Like, get away. So it's 5 days later. Kyrus sees Nate, who gives her an envelope from Lorcan, and basically is just like, you know what? Don't trust Graves. And, I understand like he hasn't really given you any reasons to trust him either, but just don't trust Graves. And Lorcan tells her like you should go see the world and learn the answers the way he and Graves did. And he's like, I'll be waiting when you return home, and I suggest you start with the Goblin Market in Dublin. And you're like, I guess we're going to Dublin.
Yay,
Okay.
Ireland. It's time.
Let's go. Let's go.
And then we learn Ethan is apparently going to stay and train with Lorcan. And I'm like, okay.
Feels a little bit like a betrayal there.
It does a little bit. And I know he makes a comment that like you got to choose your monster, like I'm choosing mine type of thing. Touche. Yeah. And I get that you have magic and you think this is cool. Cool, totally get that. But also like this guy has tried to kill you twice now, Ethan.
Yeah.
Like
it's just no. Doesn't make sense.
Jen is gonna go with Kyrus on this like adventure, and then Graves shows up because they're back at like the brothel, right? And he asks, and he does end up asking Kyrus to stay. Yeah. I think she makes the comment like, "Are you gonna ask me to stay?" And he was like, "Stay," and she's like, "I can't." I'm like, "Then why did you ask?" Like, let's not mind fuck him.
Wanted to hear him do it, But yeah, exactly. I'm like, that's not fair.
That was mean. And then he tells her to start at the same place that Lorcan did. So at least they agree on that. And then he does tell her like what they had was real, at least for him. And she confirms it was real for her too. And then before she leaves, he's like, are you going to come back? And she says that New York City is home and she's not done there yet. I'm like, okay, but that's like not what he meant. He meant like, are you going to come back to me? Not to the city of New York.
Right.
So then we get the final interlude where Graves is in a renovated library. So it's been a little bit of time. He's clearly missing Kyrus. He also seems really frustrated by the fact that Lorcan called Kyrus earlier something that translates into the pulse of my heart.
Yeah.
Right?
Like when he found out she was a wisp, he like changed everything.
It changed everything for him.
You're like,
and he calls her this thing that translates into the pulse of my heart. But he like, besides that, we don't know what the fuck that means. Right. And then Lorcan's just weird after. But then he also tries to kill her. Like, it's very bizarre. So then someone named Laz, which we don't know if that's a nickname or whatever, and it's not part of the other two names that we saw in the book in the very beginning, because I looked at it again, has supposedly found the cauldron. And Graves realizes he's going to need a very clever thief for this job. And I'm like, okay. So we're going to, like, we're setting up the next book. So what I liked about this ending is I feel like I have like so many questions, so many theories, but I also felt like it was a little like Shield of Sparrows, where like we know where the next book is likely headed, but I don't have this massive cliffhanger like I do in some other books where I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, so
like
I like actually
get
like
resolved.
That.
Yeah, like a lot of things get resolved. Like there's still some mystery as to like, are they going to Dublin? Who like, is Laz?
Like, what's going on? Who is good? Who is bad? Is there a dragon and a lion? Like, how the hell are Jen and Ethan, this druid and this high priestess? Like, I have so many questions.
Right.
So we're going to get to all of those. But let's talk Hot and Stevie.
Yes.
Okay. 3 peppers?
I'd say it's a good 3 pepper. It's hard because, like, there's only really 2 spicy scenes, but they are spicy.
They're really good. And they're long.
Yeah. So that's why I would stick it with a 3. But normally if there was only like 2 like sexy scenes, I wouldn't put it at that many peppers. But because they are like in detail and like really good, I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll bump you up.
We'll give you 3.
We'll give you 3.
Let's talk about them.
Yes, please. So first we have chapter 33. Kyrus and Graves finally have sex. And you're like, oh, thank God. But oh my Lord, it starts out so steamy when he just starts trying like going down on her. And he just first of all says, "What a pretty pussy." And right there you're like, oh fuck. It's like good girl, just like, what a pretty pussy.
What I feel like it came out of nowhere. What I mean by that is like you don't know that he has a dirty mouth until like this scene. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah, exactly. And she says, Graves, shifting and trying to get him closer. His tongue darted out, slipping against the sensitive bud. Is this what you want? Fuck, she grasped. Where are your manners? He teased. She was going to kill him. Please, she whispered. You can do better than that, Wren. Graves, she said around a strangled moan. Fuck me with your mouth, your lips, your tongue. I need you. His nose brushed against her clit and she choked. Fuck me or I'll die. Oh my God. She licked her lips and met his gaze. I'd like it better inside of me. His answer was to grasp her thighs and wrap them around his legs. She reached overhead and wound the vines around her wrist, clutching them firmly for support. They bit into her skin and she couldn't even care, because with one easy stroke Graves buried himself deep inside of her. Her head dropped back and she tightened her grip on the vines. She had been thinking about this since they danced that first time, and he did not disappoint. He stretched her to fullness, her body enveloping his cock. He held her up like she weighed nothing, with his hands on her ass, and she didn't care, didn't think of the magic that they likely allowed it or any of the other things that could complicate this. Just him, all of him. Then he started to move, an easy slide out and a hard thrust back in. She had no words, no pleas left on her tongue, just satisfaction in every movement. And she wondered if he was no beast or monster at all, but a god. A fucking god.
Which is
Which is
interesting
true.
because literally he probably was
Is it good?
fucking like God. But
Oh,
he
yeah.
at this point she didn't know he really was a god.
I know, but
So
damn,
good.
damn, honey bunny. Love it. So good. Oh, I love a good, like, wrap up and hold on tight.
Right?
Like, give me a headboard to hold on to, give, shadows, woo, vines.
Vines, that's a new thing.
It's a new thing. So then we get chapter 53, where Kierce and Graves have sex in his room. Again, he's never let anybody in there, and you're like, I'll go in your sex room. So she came to her knees before him and then looked up at him from under her lashes. And if I want this? And I thought I was supposed to learn your body, he said through gritted teeth. Plenty of time for that later. His breathing was ragged as she undid his pants and drew them over his narrow hips. His boxer briefs followed, revealing the full length of him before her. She had barely gotten to touch him the last time, just a firm grip on him before he thrust into her. Now she wanted all of him. She grasped his cock in her hand, slowly stroking him up and down. Then she fit her mouth around the head of him. He moaned deep in the back of his throat. She pushed forward, taking in the length of him. And when she drew back again, his hips flexed as if he wanted to thrust into her again. She rolled her tongue over the tip teasingly before taking him in again, lingering longer at the base.
Right?
My.
Just like,
There is even a point, I forget if it was described in chapter 33 or 53, where she was like, he was so big. And you're just
like how big?
how
I
big?
know, right?
I'm like, is
Like,
it like in length or in girth or both?
or both. We need a little bit more description. Can we get that in book 2, please?
Yes, please. But those are good details in there. And it's even more juicy. So, if you've read it, you
It's
know what we're talking about. Which I hope you've read it because obviously you have spoilers here. It's good.
and I hope you're wanting more in book 2 like we are. Okay.
Oh, yes.
So, time to theorize. We've got a lot, so buckle up. Okay, so we've kind of mentioned this before, but what is the significance of the other items in the safe with the diamond ring? So, when the ring is first described, it's mentioned to be as big as a robin's egg. So, like, Spidey senses go up, which is especially interesting because we know that Lorcan hired Amberdash to have the ring stolen, which makes me think it has to have a more significant value to Graves and Lorcan. Is it possible that ring has something to do with Lorcan's sister?
Right? Yeah. Like, was she the original Robin?
Maybe, but also like they were, if you think back to like 500 years ago, people got married at like 16 or younger. So is
Yeah.
that like a family heirloom ring of Lorcan's that Graves proposed to his sister with
Yeah. Like, were they in
or
love?
something? Were they in love? And then like, is that fingernail? Is that her fingernail? Is that
What if the spell is to bring her back?
we're gonna talk about that in a minute.
Oh, my brain just thought, oh, yeah, yeah, okay. Whew, okay.
Because like, what if it is?
So
And
what if
that's
it is?
and what if it is?
But then Graves would be stuck between choosing between the Wren or, like, what if he thought, so many things. All right. But what also is the significance of this Wren necklace? Graves says he didn't feel any powers coming from it, so it doesn't seem like directly tied to Kierce's powers, but we do believe it has some significance to like what Kierce is somehow. So we know that based on Celtic mythology, a wren represents the king of all birds or the druid bird. You're like, druids? Maybe you should be with Lorcan? Huh? Like, are we flipped? And it also is seen as like a hope and new beginnings. Does this somehow mean that Kyr's represents a new beginning for Graves or like the world after this new monster war, perhaps? And we're also assuming that Kyr's mother must have had similar powers to her or like be connected to, Celtic heritage as well, because the necklace used to be hers. So it's like, and your mother died in childbirth. Like, does that happen for wisps? Was your mother a wisp? I don't know.
I think so.
I think so too.
Okay. So what does it mean for Kyrce to sign their name in this book, and who are these other people? So theoretically, I could see where like signing the book creates a bargain or a deal between the signer and Graves. But he already knows at that point that Graves has magic immunity. So it doesn't make sense that he would have her sign it trying to create that type of bond if she's
Yeah.
immune.
Yeah.
And then we mentioned these two other names that we can see, and then the other ones aren't legible. Who the fuck are these people?
Right?
Why were they included? I feel like they're going to be on this journey somehow, right?
Yeah.
And like one of them, like Mateo, is obviously that's more of a male name, and then the other name was like what, Uma?
Yeah. So I think Uma Thurman, so I'm like female, right? Yeah.
Is
Okay.
well, and are those her parents? Are those?
No, she would have recognized that those are her parents.
But what if that? What if she doesn't know their real names? We called him Graves, and we learned his name was Brannon.
Oh, that's a good point. Mm-hmm. Also, like, how big is this book? Like, can we look through it?
There was it just one page? Were there multiple pages, and we just saw the one?
Yeah. I don't know.
Does
And then
it,
also,
yeah,
yeah, I just,
I have questions.
so many questions here. Also, can we trust Nate? Yeah, I mean, he hasn't given us any real reason, like, not to trust him, but I get a weird vibe from him for some reason. Like, we obviously, like, just don't trust anyone in our romantasy mantras. Like, that's just, like, maybe we're going too far here. Possible. But, like, let's look at the evidence here, okay? Tora was kidnapped under his supervision, and he, like, refers to her as, like, leaving rather than being kidnapped. And it's, like, maybe that's just, like, the wrong word choice. Or like we're over analyzing everything, but I'm just like, I don't know.
Or maybe not.
Maybe he made a deal in some way. Plus, like, he also seems to know a lot about Lorcan, and even from like he delivers a message from Lorcan to Kyrce at the end. So I'm like, you have a good relationship with him enough that like Lorcan can like approach you and like have you do this. So, like, are you a client of Lorcan's as well? Like Amberdash was? Like, have you been working together? I think so. And additionally, we know that like Lorcan was able to basically like bust into 5 points while the wolves were on lockdown to kidnap Jen and Ethan. And also, Ethan and the other wolves were poisoned by the red powder. But nobody knows who is responsible. Seems very suspicious. That like both of the things happen at 5 points. Just throwing that out there. And also, like Kyrce was eventually able to create wards because she made a ward over 5 points to keep her friends safe inside of there.
to prevent red powder from getting like going in.
Yes. But it's also like, how did Lorcan
How did he
get
get
them
in?
out?
Well,
Yeah.
because like Nate even says when he talks about like, oh, that'll be a full moon, we'll be on lockdown, like that'll be so safe for Jen and Ethan,
Yeah. How did somebody get in there? Or did he get them out? Like,
right?
did he like take them out of the wards? Like, because maybe the wards, they keep people from coming in that aren't supposed to come in, but somebody could leave. And
Or
then
did
once
he
they're
do
out in
some
the
sort of
open,
ritual that broke at them, like he did at Graves' house? What the fuck was the ritual? I have
I
questions.
know. So now it's like I don't really trust Nate.
He gave me Alistair vibes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you're a little two-faced. What's going on?
So, so what's with all the dragon references? There are numerous ones specifically related to Graves throughout the book. So that makes me question, like, are you some sort of shape shifter too? Like, Kyrus clearly sees them as having dragon-like qualities. His door knocker's a dragon, so it's not just her. Like, if it was just her saying it, I think that would feel different. So the
Yeah.
question is like, why is this in the story? And it's mentioned too many times for it to be random.
Yeah. Nothing is random here. This is
Nothing
all
is random.
purposeful. Yeah. And then that saying of like the lion roars and the dragon responds, and you're like, who's the lion? Who's the dragon? Who's the
Right?
hmm.
Got questions.
What really happened to Kyrus's father? Like, I don't think he left Kyrus on his own accord when she was younger. Like, it's likely he's still alive. Maybe he's in Dublin. I don't know. But like maybe he's being held captive somewhere because of like what Kyrus and her family are. Like, is he also like part wisp?
Wisp?
Or maybe
I don't
what if
know.
it, yeah, like what if that came, what if the wisp comes from her dad's side and her mom is the Wren side?
What is a Wren?
Right? Yeah, like what does this mean?
Because like because Grace calls Kyrus his Wren. I'm like, but what does it mean? Like his muse, his
What?
love,
Yeah, right? My downfall? I mean, kind of.
kind of. But and then who bound Kyrus's magic? So gut reaction is her father did it, likely to
Mm-hmm.
protect her. Because he saw
Yeah.
like whatever her mother went through. And so this idea that like she's gonna have the same type of magical powers, binding her magic would allow Kyrus to live a fairly normal life as a human, obviously before the monster wars, and not be subject to all the drama that would exist with her being like the only wisp alive. So that's my current theory.
Is Jason really dead? I don't know. Maybe he could be alive. He could be alive and show up attempting to hurt Kyrus again in the future. But like, why do we have so much information about him throughout the book if he isn't going to show up later in the series?
Like it's a lot.
It's a lot.
I meant to
Or
like
maybe
search
he
in
is
the
dead
Kindle
dead.
like how many times his name was mentioned. Because it's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, did King Louis know that Kirsch was going to be at this party? So I'm thinking this one is a yes, because he mentions he was waiting for her and how he went to a lot of effort to get her there, which sounds more than just working with Dr. Mahi to find like magical blood, because how would he have known that she was there? And then it's almost like he knows that she's going to be at the party and what she's trying to do, which makes me think there's a mole in the ranks. So, who is it? Obviously, it's not Graves, which leaves Tora and Nate. They're the only two that would know besides Edgar
Or he's old.
is old,
Maybe.
but I don't feel like they would turn on him. And I don't think that they really knew what was going on.
No. I feel like it could have possibly been Tora who turned on her to try and like get out of her own debt.
That's possible. Because she does get her into the, like, she does say, like, you can't use this invite. She does have her dress up as a red velvet girl.
Yeah. And she just happens to be like up at the like dais, like where the king is.
Where it happens. It's true.
And she happens
And
to
then
be
she,
the
like,
one that's not dead
disappears.
yet. Yeah, it's like, where does she go? So what was King Louis planning for the war before he died? Like, is someone else going to take over his leadership? He was seriously plotting something evil and horrible right before he died. And it makes us think he was going to launch like another war the next day, or at least like make some type of move that would lead to another war. We also know that like multiple vampires would likely step up to take over his leadership now that he's gone. So like maybe they just need to regroup, have their own little bloodbath of like, who's going to win. And there's going to be more drama from that group. Like it's not over. Like just because
They're
you
not
chop off
gone.
one head doesn't mean another one's not going to grow back. Someone's still
Okay.
there. Maybe it's
So
Jason.
maybe it's Jason. Like, is he a vampire? Is he?
Yeah.
How do we know that
Like
he wasn't
maybe,
a monster to begin with?
yeah, true. Like what if like when he was, like bleeding out or whatever, like she said that she made sure that he was dead. She's like, I made sure of it. So
But there's like a comment later where she says she's pretty sure he's dead. Like it's looser language when she's telling Graves the
yeah,
story.
like I'm pretty
And
sure he's dead, but it's
and
like
I was like, but is he dead dead or mostly dead? Was he mostly dead or dead dead? They're different.
that's true. Like yeah, I don't know. The way she says it is very cryptic. Yeah, because it's like,
I know.
but then he says like good because if he wasn't, I would kill him myself, and it's like maybe you'll get the chance.
Maybe you will. We'll find out. So, what is really happened with Lorcan's sister? So, I'm questioning if she's like really dead. We know
Yeah,
that Grace supposedly killed her, but what if her physical body died but not her soul,
fingernail.
right? And what if there's a way to bring her back? And that's why Graves is searching for those four magical items. Plus, he
Hmm.
never confirms he actually did kill her, and Lorcan doesn't provide any information about why she died, if he was present when it happened, or any of those things, right? And it just raises a lot of assumptions.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I think she might not be dead.
I
Because
think she may
again,
not
like
be
that's
dead.
why he can't say I didn't kill her. Because then he'd have to say, oh, she's not dead, or her body's in limbo, or yeah.
And he makes a comment about how he tried to make amends
Yeah.
when he's talking about their feud.
Yeah. And maybe the wildflowers is the reason why, like maybe she died in a field of wildflowers, and that's why Lorcan sends it to her, to him,
It's possible.
to be like taunting him. But what is also so special about this cat being named Anne Boleyn? This theory might be crazy, but hear us out. Okay. What if the cat is actually Lorcan's sister? And that's why the cat likes Graves. Like, he takes care of her. We're going to find a spell that will allow him to turn her back into a person. It's like a hocus pocus situation.
Think about it. It's a black cat. Her name's Anne Boleyn, right?
Yeah. It's so curious.
And there's a lot of comments from, she likes the library. There's a lot of comments from Kier's where like, she says that, like, cats choose people. She doesn't understand why a cat would choose Graves.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
But then,
cat,
but then my brain also goes to his comment of what a pretty pussy.
I don't think he meant that about the cat.
He didn't mean about the cat, but what if he was like, what a pretty pussy cat? Wrong cat.
Wrong cat. Okay. So what does it mean when Lorcan calls Cures the pulse of my heart at the end? Okay. I went down a rabbit hole,
Of
so
course
bear
you
with
did.
me.
I love
Of
it.
course I did. Okay, so technically, if you translate this from Irish Gaelic, it does translate to the pulse of my heart if you look at what it says in the book. However, it can also be interpreted as the following: Darling, you are my everything or my beloved.
Hmm.
Which then makes me wonder if Lorcan has romantic interest in Kyrst now and he's planning to pursue her. We also know at the end of the book that Grace, the way it's described, saw fiery red when Lorcan referred to her this way and doesn't like that it's something else he has to contend with too. So, does that mean that Lorcan believes he's somehow connected to Kyrst now? Now that he knows who she, like what she is?
Yeah, like
Could
they're
she be a
bound.
they're bound somehow? Could she be a past love of his reincarnated and that's why he says this? Or is it mainly tied to like the fact that she's a wisp and he feels like that's from his people, so he feels this like she is his beating heart type of thing and believes he's meant to be with her?
Yeah. I don't know, because he right at the beginning says like there's legends in our world, tales of beasts and beauties,
Yes.
creatures and stories that would keep you up at night, of monsters born. It's like you've heard these stories, and the tales and legends come from a kernel of truth. And you're like,
Or is Lorcan just fucked up and this is just like he's just a creepy old man, like literally.
yeah, yeah, probably, probably. That could be it too. And then I wonder also, could Ethan actually be the Robin for the Oak King? Like, we know he's planning to train with Lorcan, and like the title of the second book in the series is literally like Robin and the Oak Throne. So you're just like, So I feel like we're gonna find out who the Robin is, or maybe some more like breadcrumbs or bird crumbs. But is it
I
possible?
love it, bird crumbs.
Bird crumbs.
Bird
Is it
seed.
Yeah, yeah. Here, little Robin, come here. It's possible that this Robin could somehow refer to Kierce or someone else we haven't met yet, or it could be Ethan, because Ethan also like has like that background of like being a druid. So I'm like, But at the end of the book, we do know that Graves has another job and needs a talented thief for it. So looks like you're gonna try and find Kierce again. But I also assume we're gonna see a lot more of Lorcan in the second book.
I would assume so too, just based on the title alone. Okay, what's next? If you enjoyed this book, we think you'll also love the next book in the series, A Robin on the Oak Throne. We're deep diving into this book in a couple of weeks in the podcast, so make sure you join us for that episode. If you do love a good slow burn, some Beauty and the Beast vibes, which this one gave us, A Taste for Lives by Elsie Whitehouse, great book to check out. It's available on Kindle Unlimited. Another book that we thoroughly enjoyed this year and has a monster theme and does not have a massive cliffhanger, we mentioned it earlier, is Shield of Sparrows by Devaney Perry. It's also on Kindle Unlimited and has some of the most beautiful sprayed edges of any book I've seen lately if you want to pick up a physical copy.
Oh yeah, it's a gorgeous book to even just have in your library. You're like, it's so pretty. I love it.
It's so beautiful.
So pretty. And then join us next week when we release 2 episodes. First up is a romantasy episode covering A Light in the Flame by Jennifer Armentrout, followed by a contemporary romance called A Very Italian Wedding by Donna Ashcroft. Happy reading, everybody.
Happy reading. Thanks for listening to Late Night Reads. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Late Night Reads Podcast. And check out latenightreads.com for even more information about all the books we're reading. If you loved today's episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And share the show with your fellow book lovers.